Sewer Water Commission meeting Monday, August 19th, 2024 at EJW Center. We have agenda here. We'll start with the minutes from the last meetings and
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, June 10th. I didn't see any issues.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
so all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Superintendent status report.
Tony. So as far as leaks go, it's been very quiet since the last meeting. The only thing of note was a water main break on Old North Street, a 6-inch cast iron line that was a circle crack. Nothing else of real significance. The raw water line cleaning project, the Minebrook wells, was completed with very effective results. After cleaning, we saw about a 50 psi drop in pressure, which is a good thing. The pump's doing less work. We saw an increase in flow from 200 gallons a minute to 650 gallons a minute, which is over 3 times. And the electric usage at the pumping stations dropped by about 40%, so that's saving us money as well. The water main replacement, Bird Street water main is complete. On Peach Street, the services are being switched over. Now on Spring Street's chlorinated, being tested, and Riverview has been replaced, and it's been filled with water but not yet chlorinated and tested. As far as the MTU report, usual issues with the system we're currently using, no issues to note on the newer pilot program, which is up to 198 installs. We're kind of getting out of the air of the pilot program at this point.
So the question on the pilot program,
Sure.
are we advertising it, or is it still like people are requesting, like, you know, to us?
As we need to replace them, they're getting the new meter with the new reading software,
Okay.
and they're being offered the chance to use the app. Still, percentage-wise, very little people actually use it, but they do have access to it. Capital budget, that's going to be with the capital budget committee on August 27th, 6 p.m. And for the finance committee for capital, that'll be on Thursday, September 12th at 7. And routine tasks and maintenance continue to be informed.
But what about the redundancy line? How's that doing? I know it's...
Yeah, no, that's going well.
The neighbors are asking me this. When are they going to be out of here?
They're moving right along. We had one issue with a utility pole that there was a question about the ownership when they actually got there, and that's put in as a as soon as possible replacement. So work is progressing very well, on time and on budget.
So when's it due to be done?
It'll be due this summer.
Do you have a date?
An exact date I do not have.
How about in weeks? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what?
No, you're looking at like a month at least, over a month.
We're looking at what?
Over a month.
A month. Okay, thank you.
And that's for the water main itself replacing, and then all the cleanup work after and paving.
Yeah, I noticed you're on the sidewalk in some places.
Yeah. That's it.
Any items at the capital budget meeting?
You have the requests for sewer and water that were handed out tonight.
Oh,
What is
These are two, explain what they are.
You got capital budget, one set is for sewer requests and one is for water.
Okay.
in the sewer, the trucks are coming back again, isn't it? Wasn't it last year also?
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. They wear out over time. So as they end their useful life, they get replaced.
So last year we did replace it, isn't it?
Yeah, different vehicles.
These are the new trucks.
Yeah, these are not the same vehicles. It's a fleet of vehicles, and they're all have their expiration date basically, or when they can no longer perform the job that we bought them for.
How many vehicles do we have in the sewer department?
That's a good question. I have to count them. I can get you that number.
Yeah, like that in the water department,
Sure.
total.
Yeah.
So there's no designation, John. The designation is only from the financial end. Vehicles and sewer and water are shared equally by both sides of the operation. So, case in point, I believe the last backhoe we bought was from sewer. So it's used in both the departments that they cross over.
All right, what aggregate number of vehicles, whatever, however they're written on the side?
Certainly. Well, like Rick is saying, we have a backhoe.
We don't have any plain clothes vehicles, do we?
No. Like, we have a backhoe, it digs water leaks and sewer problems as well. It's across, like Rick said.
I'd just like to know how many vehicles.
Sure. Let you know.
Anything else, Bill, on the,
No, did we vote to approve all the capital requests for,
I have a question on that.
no, I don't think we reviewed it.
well, we might be asked at the Capital Budget Committee.
Well, how do you want to do that at this meeting, or you want to have another meeting?
Because this was presented just as a note here. Didn't come with that.
Yeah, but there are things that we've known about. That's why I'm asking.
But the timing isn't adequate to review.
All right.
Two capital budgets here on the
Yep.
fly.
Okay.
So, maybe we can decide at the end if we want to undertake this.
Quick question on the water capital budget line item 3. So what are those?
3 and 4?
Yeah.
Sure. So at the Willis Water Treatment Plant, we have trihalomethanes formation. It's a disinfectant byproduct as part of chlorinating the water to make it safe to drink. When there are precursors in the water, you combine with chlorine, you form trihalomethanes, which are carcinogens. And you have a limit of running average over a year. Seasonally, we're approaching that limit, and then other times we're not. So we're trying to anticipate and take care of that before it's a problem, because we're headed that way. And as far as PFAS, that's also a contaminant. It's mostly concerned, or the higher levels at this plant, the Delaney plant. So we're averaging about 15.5 parts per trillion for PFAS 6. The limit is 20. And since we're at 75%, a little better, we don't want to be going over that number and scramble to have to do something about it. And also with PFAS, there are continuing new compounds that are regulated. There's thousands of PFAS compounds. So this is to head that off in anticipation.
So it's called design, like both are called design. So will you be spending this money only on design?
Right, so we did an investigation. Last capital round, we appropriated money to investigate.
Okay.
Now that we have that investigation completed, we have options as far as treatment techniques. And now that we've selected the treatment techniques, we're going forward with design for each plant. And following design, future will be construction.
Is there a financial roadmap of how these would get charged off against the grant money or the mitigation money we're going to get for PFAS? Is that...
That's still to be
You've got a target figure, and some of these are going to come under that umbrella and some aren't, and how do you... do you have a structure thing, or are you just kind of flying?
No, we have a very strong idea of what it's going to cost. And as far as the actual appropriations and where that money's coming from, that's to be determined.
All right, we wouldn't want to be loading up on capital borrowing towards PFAS till we have earmarked, if we get this mitigation money, that's going to pay for it.
Right. John.
Because I don't want to borrow this money and then we have $5 million or
Right.
$50 million more, and now we're going to...
Yeah, this would not be borrowing. This is strictly for the design of the system. So this would come from retained earnings. Any future construction of the actual treatment system itself, the funds that the town stands to gain from the class action suit would be applied to the construction.
Okay, thank you.
John, got a question. Any proposed treatment, will it address all types of PFAS, or do we even know that? I'm just thinking, yes, we designed for what we have to deal with today. And as you said, there are many more compounds.
Right, so the known PFAS compounds that we have now that are regulated, it will definitely remove those.
Right.
But if you're asking me that, 10, 15 years from now, if the compound number 8,000 out of 10,000 will treat, I can't tell you that, but more than likely it'll be yes.
That more than likely,
Yeah.
the solution...
I can't tell you that this
No, I understand,
some
but I mean-
variant.
We'll also have the ability to update the media as new technology.
Okay. All right.
All right, so we'll just continue this, we'll put this on a return to this topic. What's not quite 6:45?
John, someone's here for abatement 1.
Abatement 1?
Sorry, 2.
Okay, we have Christian Reiter. 140 Peach Street.
Good afternoon, or evening. So I'll give you the elevator pitch and then obviously any more info or context I can provide. This is related to the Peach Street work that's been going on to replace the water main. And so the initial work had begun, I believe, in June, and it was on about the middle of June on Wednesday the 12th, where the water pressure was turned off, the water source was turned off. And at some point when it was turned off and turned back on, there was some ill effect at my house where the irrigation system was discharging excessive amounts of water. So putting aside that there was damage to the basement, which is currently, the claim is under processing with and under investigation with the Walpole's MIA insurance company. This particular topic I was looking for was if there could be a credit abatement, whatever the proper terminology is, on the water usage and discharge for that day. It was fairly excessive, over 166 to memory cubic feet that day. And so obviously that was unintended water use, and looking for if that can be credited or relief on that usage that would be billed otherwise.
This is just a single day issue?
Yeah, it's a single day issue, so I can look for timestamps. Text from my wife, I was returning from the office, and she had said at some point prior to me leaving the office that the water had been turned off, had not been restored yet. At some point while I was returning home, she said the water's back on, pressure's pretty low. When I got home, I could see that there was the discharging from the irrigation system for whatever cause, whatever reason that was happening. So the water was probably discharging for an estimate of 3 or 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours. Which obviously, if you look at the daily water usage at my home, it was a significant outlier by several standard deviations of typical water use.
So what is the relationship of your irrigation system to the water responsibility?
Well, I think it's still open as to the cause, and if it's caused by the work that the town or the contractor was doing, then that's one thing on the damage that resulted, but also the water use.
So
that's being billed to me.
if I could supply a little bit more information, the conditions may have been set up for the town by operating valves and hydrants and causing a situation that could create a back siphonage or backflow condition. However, the device that Mr. Rikers is referring to is a pressure vacuum breaker that's on the irrigation line on the outside of the house. And when those are installed, they must be in a vertical position. That's the way they operate. They cannot be mounted horizontally, and unfortunately, in his case, it was mounted horizontally. So the device is not configured or orientated the way it should be to work properly.
Are you on sewer?
Town sewer, town water?
Yes. Based on prior practice, we might be able to adjust the sewer, the amount that never went into the sewer. But other than that, I would not be in favor of abating any water usage.
Do you still have a relationship with your irrigation company?
So I purchased the home after the irrigation system was installed. So whoever had installed it, no, I don't have any, never had a relationship since I owned the home with them.
Oh, and you could possibly claim that on your insurance claim with your other damages with your homeowners.
So that claim is being filed with the town's insurance company.
It is, by you?
I suppose I was the catalyst for it, but I don't think I actually opened the claim. I think it went through the department.
So,
I believe we received word today, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, that the insurance company denied the claim. Our insurance.
but that's something that just came in today. You probably have not had time to be
I have
notified.
not heard that, and then
Right.
I'm disappointed, and will continue to
It
seek
it
counsel.
goes
on
directly
that.
back to the installation, and, you know, we understand that's not something that you did if it was a former owner, but unfortunately, whoever installed that did not do the job correctly.
So what I would offer, if we pivot to that part of the conversation, obviously I can't control turning off to try and replicate the situation that resulted in all that water discharge and ultimately the damage. I can control my internal valve, which I did multiple tests to see, hey, if the water just was lost and then came back on, can I replicate the outflow of discharge, the unintended discharge? I could not, which with the variables that I can control, seems like that the water pressure valve was working properly. I don't know what potentially could be different. I obviously don't know what the pipes look like, the valve. I don't know what the contractor's experience is or what they claimed that they did or didn't do that day. And actually the insurance company has told me that they cannot share that information as well. So what I can say is that all other things equal and all other things in control, it seems like even in a horizontal installation, it works. It didn't work that day. I don't know what was different about what may or may not have been done that day.
It might be just a percentage of times it'll work correctly and other times it won't work correctly. You know, you'd have to do testing to do that, but from the manufacturer, they specifically state in their installation documents and the specifications for the device that it must be vertical. Otherwise, it's not installed vertically. And that particular device, the reason why it has to be installed vertically is that valve opening is assisted by gravity. So if you put it horizontally, it's not going to work right. If you have it straight up and down, gravity is allowing it to open and assisting it. So maybe sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't, but it's a chance.
Don't we also have a concern that we have the town's drinking water connected to an irrigation system without a proper backflow that needs to be...
He has the proper device, it's just not installed correctly.
Doesn't matter whether it's installed, if it's not working, I think we have a concern that needs to be addressed regardless of, you know, any insurance claims or not.
That's certainly purview that I think that you would be interested in, and I would as a person who lives in this town. I would also, if nothing else from this, that in the recommendations of, you know, leaflets that get put on people's doors, that perhaps a recommendation to turn off your irrigation system would be beneficial, would have certainly saved me quite a bit of headache and now apparently quite a bit of money that insurance won't cover. But if there is a bulleted line item addition to recommendations, not just saving up some water to help flush the toilets, but you might want to turn off your irrigation lines as well and possibly absolve the town in the future if someone like me is so inclined to seek legal counsel on this matter. You've insulated yourself a little bit more on that as well and maybe saved dozens of headaches in the future.
Well, if you're pursuing a legal matter, under normal circumstances, we may consider Mr. Abbott's proposal to make an adjustment or propose an adjustment to the sewer part of it. But if you're pursuing legal activity against the town, I wouldn't want to do that because that would be more an indication of accepting some guilt.
Understandable. I'm only hearing about this within the last 15 minutes, so my gut instinct is that, well, the matter might be closed to the insurance company without details provided from the insurance company on this site. Not so sure that it's closed in my head. Now, what other strings or avenues I have might be pretty limited, might be dead ends, but that's just being transparent that should somebody have that intent, a simple indication or additional bit of text on a heads up notification that gets taped to somebody's door could yield benefits for the town.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll take your request under consideration.
3 of us.
Thank you. Okay. We have Leah Stanton. I didn't recognize you. You look like you came straight from Nantucket.
My Lilith look. Do we have slides?
I have the email set that's it.
Yeah. Go to the map for me. So we have
If
current,
you want to adjust the mic, okay? It's
yes, do you want me to adjust the mic? Is that
a
what you're
little bit, yeah,
suggesting?
They won't hear you at home.
How am I doing now?
Pretty good.
Okay. So last time I was here, we had identified a potential way, location to get MWRA water into Walpole as a redundant water supply. And I'm just going to recap that, so you all know it, but I'm going to recap it anyway, all right? So we looked at many sites on the town border to Norwood for a potential pump station, because we know we need a pump station, because we need to pump out of Norwood. We identified the location at the soccer fields. And identified that it was a good location for a pump station. It required minimal pipeline to connect Walpole system to Norwood system, which was good. Pipeline, it costs a lot of money, so we try to minimize it. And we went and we met with Norwood, and Norwood requested about 8,000 feet of water main improvements in Norwood system in order for us to use 1 million gallons a day of water, all right? And they wanted to, and I thought it was a 10% wheeling fee for every, the MWRA charges per million gallons used, so it was 10% on top of their fee.
I think it's,
I saw 22, right? It's
20%,
20. I
yeah.
swear they talked about 10, but
Yeah.
either way, 10 to 20% wheeling fee. And that was the best location, lowest capital costs, all right? And I'd like to, if we could, I'd like to uncouple capital costs and operation costs for our conversation now, right? So you all asked us to look at other alternatives to get MWRA water into Walpole in a direct connect to MWRA fashion, right? It would avoid the wheeling fee. I'm gonna walk over to the TV, all right? So in blue is the MWRA system, okay? This is basically Frugal, what is that? Frugal Fanny's store up there, University Ave, all right? This is, Westwood has a connection to MWRA, and Canton has meters to MWRA. So blue is the MWRA water system, all right? I'm sorry, this got cut off here. Here's Mylod Street, right here. This is you in Walpole. Here is your town line, okay? Here's Sharon, and here is Canton, right here, okay? And here's Norwood. The most direct, shortest route to connect to the MWRA is straight through Norwood. okay? That's this green line. It's 23,000 feet. You all had asked to look at connecting, this is Route 1 here. This is just another alternative, okay? It's longer, it's 24,000 feet. It might be worth considering because these are local streets and this is, anyway, permitting issues, all right? You all had asked us to look at connecting in through Canton, all right? And Canton, the Canton connection, well, the Canton connection is longer, okay? It also includes you have to get through Sharon and you have to get through Canton, all right? Then we talk, this is Stoughton's water main, all right? So Stoughton, 15, 20 years ago, built a pipeline through Canton, 16-inch water main through Canton, and they put a pump station right on the town line. I think it's Post Island Road. And they did that project 20 years ago. So we talked about maybe using that water main to shorten our distance, all right? And it doesn't save us any mileage. You all had talked about potentially 95. It is my professional opinion that we should not install a water main on I-95. It just isn't done, and I don't think it could get permitted, and I think it would cost more money than staying on local streets.
Okay, just
Okay.
from what you've said,
Do you want me to finish, or you?
no, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
The MWRA has a deal with Stoughton and a connection. Those are existing pipes. Correct?
Stoughton has an agreement to buy water from the MWRA.
Right, there's no wheeling charge.
That's correct. They built that
Okay,
16-inch water main through Canton.
right.
Stoughton might decide if we wanted to use it to have a wheeling charge, I would assume, potentially.
I would assume that Stoughton would be, if we went to go connect to the 16-inch water main on Stoughton, in Canton, A, it's longer, B, it's two towns that we have to get through, and it's a burden putting your water mains in other town streets, right? Think of it from your perspective. If somebody wanted to put a water main through your street, you would be having them pave the roads, you would be having them fix utilities that were in the way. It gets very, very costly. So, but on top of all of that, I don't think it saves anything, because to Bill's point, I think Stoughton is going to be looking for, I mean, they spent $20+ million on this 15, 20 years ago, and I should also say they're not using it.
Well, that's the key point.
So,
If they're not using it, they may not have a high bill, and they may even want to sell it.
Too expensive to use it.
Yes. The water.
so when I called, I did make a few phone calls. I didn't make a lot, but I did make a few phone calls. And they are not currently using the connection because the cost to buy MWRA water is so significant. You know, and it's the same as you. They have plants, they have staff, their rate structure is built off of costs to run their system, and every time they buy water from the MWRA, those are costs that they are incurring that have not been planned for, right? Which goes back to the operating cost of this connection for Walpole, which I was trying to uncouple, right? So in my mind, we want to do this for the lowest capital cost, and I get that the wheeling fee does add cost to it, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to get away from that. And I also think that the cost of the additional for the wheeling fee, you have to use a lot of water to kind of negate the kinds of capital costs that we're talking about here. So I did, and I even hesitate to give you all costs for a direct connection to the MWRA because frankly, I think they're too low.
excuse me, the wheeling fee from Stoughton was 10, was 10.
Stoughton pays no wheeling fee because they have
No wheeling fee, no.
because they have a direct connection to the MWRA. But they spent $20+ million 20 years ago, okay? So if we put the Walpole, the exact same thing that Stoughton did, if that's what Walpole wants to do, my recommendation would be you go through Norwood. The Stoughton connection is 30,000 feet, 7,000 feet longer to connect to Stoughton's 16-inch water main than it is to go straight through Norwood and connect to the MWRA.
But that's not, distance isn't the key criteria. The key criteria is cost. Norwood costs 10 times more. So it might be a shorter distance, but it doesn't necessarily justify the gross expense of an alternative route. And I think we could still proceed with our mandate and our effort in a multi-pronged approach, because in a sense we are operating in a blind box bill. We don't know if the MWRA is going to approve us taking water from the MWRA, and they might want to make us produce more water. So we don't want to ride a one-horse cart down the wrong path and wind up in a dead-end cul-de-sac. So I think we have to pursue multiple strategies here. In my view, I would like to have somebody, Pradeep possibly, or someone who's interested on the commission to follow up with the MWRA, because I have a concern that Norwood is being abusive and not responsible. As a member of the MWRA is trying to sell more water and to help communities, and Norwood is taking a constructive position to inhibit Walpole from accessing that opportunity. They're being unrealistic in their expectations and in their proposal. So I think we might have the avenue to pursue that with the MWRA, to have them weigh in on the fairness and the justice of their program and what Norwood should really be allowed to do as far as gouging us, to use a current political word, on this type of opportunity. Because a fair value on that pipeline would make our connection realistic along the proposed alternative that you would suggest. However, the way officials at Norwood have defined this to a second-hand to us to date is not in keeping with the good spirit of the MWRA or this whole program. So I have a problem with that. I also think that we plan on different dimensions, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year now. The short-term dimension might be we want to get hooked up before PFAS explodes. We want to do a fast deal before the barn door is closed at the MWRA. We want to get in this program. We'll throw ourselves on the fire and waste all this money. Well, that's one. The other approach is that we can pursue this and see how, if we even are eligible to hook up in this fashion. I think if we didn't, but if it turned out we could acquire the Stoughton project, that might be much more valuable and attract us and much more economical long run, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So, as an example, I also feel, contrary to what you have said, you made a lot of assumptions there, but the Commonwealth of Massachusetts owes Walpole big time for accepting Siemens Company that they wanted so badly and giving them a $20 million tip of our tax money. So I think the state and the DOT are obligated to consider an easement for us down 95. And I think that has to be handled in a different domain, not consulting engineers, politicians at the State House, senators, state representatives. But I think that is certainly on the grill. The other part is that we may want to, we're certainly going to continue looking for an alternative well site in the domain of Well 6 and Jarvis Farm, as well as Minebrook. We can continue to look at that as a backup alternative. We were Cold Stone rejected in our overtures to the MWRA through NOAA. And at the same time, we could be looking at how might this be configured on 95 or the Stoughton line? Because I think there are other communities adjacent to either of the two lines, 95 or the Stoughton line, that may be willing to join in with Walpole to have some sort of access to MWRA water, given the future of PFAS, the future of threats to water supply, the future of overregulation and excessive overreach by state environmental agencies that prohibit us from getting water. So, you know, there's a lot of dimensions to the prism, but I don't think we just can boil it down to one particular pathway. I think we need to look at several in a multiple fashion. I don't want to give up on the Norwood. I think we want to pursue that, but I think we want to think about Norwood two ways. One is, what would they require of us if it was only an emergency connection like we actually have now? I don't know why we do that, because we already have it. I think one thing is, maybe our attorneys can tell us, what is our ability to further develop our existing emergency connection to the MWRA? And that may give us a piece of the insurance policy that we're looking for, not the whole pie, but a piece of it, and maybe a short-term piece that allows us to go a couple of iterations in long-term planning out to consider things more broadly and more globally, like the 95 and the Stoughton line. I see the area you talk about. If that's a private line in Canton, there's a golf course there. You're not really showing it, but actually we could deal with one party, the golf course, and bring that line down to Walpole. We wouldn't necessarily even have to deal with the town of Canton. So I think there's a lot to look in here. I don't want to accept a broad brush negative thing about we only have one bullet to fire in this gun and we're done, and we have to deal with the Norwood proposal. So those are my.
I just have a question just on your chart. And all your option 1, 2, and 3, are we still ending up coming into Walpole at my lot?
We can move the pump station site, but you're still going to need a site. Does that?
Is it basically, we move it a little bit here, there, it's still going to cost us $5 million to...
It's still a good site for the pump station.
Okay, all right.
I mean, unless you have something that's more perfect, closer.
So the green line is that 1A, basically, or?
I think it's local streets.
Local streets?
Yeah. I can share with you a different map that has some of the streets
on it if you want. And the sort of red and purple is Route 1.
Yeah.
Could Norwood say, I don't want you to dig up all my local streets? I would think so. So even though you can draw a line and say, if they allowed us, it would cost $11 million versus what they're currently saying is roughly $8 million.
Yeah, so I estimated at $500 a foot, which is probably way too low, because what will probably happen is Norwood will want you to do all these betterments in their streets because you are trying to do this, and they will say, we have this perfectly other great alternative, why aren't we doing this? So, yeah, go ahead, Bill, I interrupted.
Well, I would think they could say, I don't want my streets dug up, my residents, have to put up with, everywhere I go through the center of town or whatever, going through construction. I could see them easily saying,
So
no.
here's my thing, what makes anybody in this room think that if they're not willing to budge on the 20% wheeling fee or the upgrades to their system, they would allow us to dig up their streets?
I just, if I was a selectman or whatever, I'd say, I want to listen to all the grief and the interruption of my businesses, because if you're going down 1A, it's not just...
Can I speak a little bit? Yeah.
The best available option is to use Mylon Street and to try and deal with Norwood and level the playing field, so to speak. The wheeling fee is what it is. If they were wheeling water through Walpole, we would charge them a wheeling fee. The water from the MWRA is going to come at a cost. And why would you want to run down Route 1 and 95? There's miles and miles of pipe on a state highway that ultimately we're responsible to repair. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, we're not going to be in the highway, we're going to be in the layout of Route 95.
That's the highway, John.
It's away from
Well, it's a
highway.
DOT
It's like 3
easement.
miles, yeah.
Pipelines are put in all the time, everywhere.
Where?
So,
Tell me where is a pipeline in 95?
Not on 95. Between 95 and Route 1, there's like 3 miles of easements. So
It
there's-
just doesn't make any sense.
but we're talking about the golf, again, we can be negative about it, and
I'm not being negative, I'm being realistic.
Well, there's a golf course
Being
there.
realistic.
There's a
My
golf
house
course
is
there.
the best available option, John. Everybody in this room knows it, but because they got their feathers ruffled because of what Norwood wants, nobody wants to do it. Mylon Street is your best option. It makes absolutely, positively no sense to dig down Route 95, and there's no local support that I could see in this town that would give you the funding for that.
And Pradeep, before you go, I do want to say something that is really important. The wheeling fee only matters if we buy water. The wheeling fee is zero if we buy no water. So it doesn't, which, if I look at a high level, what we're trying to deal with right now, we're trying to deal with cheapest capital costs, and we need to know how we're going to use the connection, because that goes into the permitting. Because, and the permitting is really complicated. There are very many different agencies and pieces and parts, and they are not in harmony. So the MWRA wants to sell water, there's no question, but the Water Resources Commission wants to make sure that you're using your water wisely and you're not over pumping your sources, and so there is a lot that goes into that, and we, Walpole, we need to have a story. So, which I'm not sure we do now, right? Like I'm not sure I can clearly say how we're going to use it. I'm sorry, Pradeep, you wanted to ask a question and I got talking, so I'll stop.
No, I think all the 3 options which you are given are not doable, in the sense like the option first itself, if you're thinking that that's the shortest path, I think the shortest path is commuter line from the Mylon Street to all the way to the Westwood junction.
The 23,000 feet, is that what you're saying?
It may be smaller than that, because there's a commuter line from the Mylon Street to all the way to the meter which you are showing. So you didn't check that option. So I don't think we are talking about that option here. The second option which you are given is to Route 1, but I don't see any option of Union Street. Why would somebody will come from all the way from Route 1 and go to the Mylon Street? That itself does not make sense. The third option, which is coming from the Canton, it's not viable. You haven't checked the new exit which was built by 95, where the top golf is there. There's a meter at the same location where the blue and orange line are meeting. So I think that particular junction to the Union Street was our best option, because there's a lot of golf courses, easement. There's no residential street, there's no industry in that route. We are not saying that it has to come through 95, but there are a lot of open land between that place to all the way to the Union Street, and that has not been looked up. So I'm not sure, like.
Okay,
whether we can-
let me, I'm missing something here, guys. I am being thick. I don't get it. So we have identified an alternative that requires 8,000 feet of pipe, plus a pump station, plus other things, okay? And you all are asking us to look at other alternatives that are 20,000 feet of pipe, plus a pump station, plus all sorts of other things. Plus, there are more pluses in going through other communities than there are with what we have laid out. You have a willing participant in Norwood, and I understand that you're not, the wheeling fee, I get it, right? But it isn't going to be zero. There is no version of a wheeling fee that is going to be zero. Think about it. You have unaccounted for water, you pump 1 million gallons of water through your system, you are going to lose 6% of that water through your system. So if you're not charging a wheeling fee, you're actually losing it. So there's no version of zero wheeling fee if you're going to wheel. So I don't understand why we want to drive a new pipeline through another community to do a direct connection. Explain to me why that's worth another $5 or $10 million. Explain that to me.
What other community?
Which other company?
Norwood.
Yeah, we are talking only about Norwood only, option 1 and 2, and even the option 3, which for my thinking was from the junction of Top Golf to the Union Street is through Norwood. There's no other community. We're only talking about all the 3 options from the Norwood. The option which you presented today from the Canton, Stoughton, that's your option. I don't think that it's going to work. I agree with that. But all the options, what we saw is through the Norwood. And if there is open land from the, I'm saying Top Golf again and again because that's the connection point where the blue line is ending. That's MWRA point. And the other side is also a good option. Both options are good. And only town which we are dealing here is Norwood. But all the pipes, what we are asking is, has to come from the state agencies. The open land is under state agencies. The MBTA line, which is straight line from Myla to the particular meter which you are showing, is MBTA. Again, it's a state. There is no Norwood town or Norwood street involved in that connection. So I think we still need to deal with one town and multiple state agencies to basically find the shortest path.
Okay, and again, I'm going to be dense here. Dealing with Norwood is a piece of cake compared to dealing with the MBTA. So, I mean, you're not allowed to do 100 feet within a line for MBTA. You have to directional drill, you can't, or you have to jack, you can't drill. Like, it is monstrously more complicated than 23,000 feet through a local Norwood street, which, by the way, is monstrously more complicated than what we have proposed. What we have proposed will work. It's actually a good solution.
I would think there may be open lands, but you got the Neponset River there, which I assume there's going to be a lot of wetlands that if you're coming from the Top Golf area down, I'm just looking at, the map where the Neponset River runs, that may, you may say, well, I don't have to get on 95 or whatever, but there is the Neponset River, which, without knowing exactly if it's on that map, looks like there's a solid line there that may be the town boundary between Norwood and Canton, might be the Neponset River.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So if you want to stay off the local roads, the best way to do it, in my opinion, if you want to stay off the local roads, is to go back to Blue Fanny's at University Ave and run straight all the way down Route 1 to Union Street. And then try to acquire the land that we don't own on Union Street.
but Route 1 is DOT, and you will have DOT permits, and you will probably use controlled density fill, you will probably be working at night, and, well, not probably, guys, you're definitely working at night, you're having reduced work hours, it is, those are big projects. Not that I'm saying we can't do
That's
it.
the whole scheme, is we're just looking at one scale of this, which really isn't fair to the consumer, to the public. They really need to look at multidimensionality of large scale versus the easiest and quick fix. And I think that if you go on the quick fix road, I think the commission in general, one of the things we need is we need somebody to go and find the most inexpensive pump stations that have been built in the last 5 years, because $5 million is too much money. It isn't going to fly. We want economics. So we don't want 30, 40% contingencies on in this project. We want them lean and economical for the water consumer. The other thing, right, you've got to have, you can't look at a closed box when they operate this. One option might be sharing. They've already got the piping in the pump station. Maybe we can make a deal with them, buy the station, give them perpetual rights for their emergencies, take that over, bring it across Union Street, done deal.
Tell me what you want. What do you want? Do you want an MWRA connection? Do you want to use it for 1 MGD a day? Or do you want it for emergency supply? Tell me what metrics you want us to work off
I think that's been going
of.
on for the last year. There's absolutely no direction and guidance as
Oh,
to
that's
exactly
not
what you want.
You
guys
we were pushing
again tonight.
We were pushing. Well, you want a quick solution. We were pushing on this.
I don't want a
like
quick
hell,
solution.
but we hit a roadblock because it's cost too much.
I don't even want to do with the MWRA thing anymore, because it's so frustrating that we can't get any guidance as to what you guys want us to do. What do you want us to do? What? Tell us the pipe route. You know, you guys seem to know the pipe routes. Tell us the pipe route.
I do feel like I'm letting you all down.
Here's 3 pieces to one alternative, which is layers out. Here's 3 things, you write them down. One is, I want the most inexpensive pumping stations that have been built in the last 5 years. I want to know the budgets of those. I don't want to hear $5 million. Number 2, if Norwood's accepting us paying annually, it's $300,000 a year, period. We're not paying for financing because they don't have to borrow it. We're giving them cash. And that cash is going to come from a per capita capital payment to our 10,000 water customers. So there's going to be no budget effect. So, and then we want to have a realistic approach on wheeling. I want to know all the wheeling charges all over the place. Who's charged what? Because 20% seems abusive and too excessive. So, I mean, we got to be tough with Norwood and get the proper deal, and then this thing can fly. But if not, we can analyze alternatives. And I think Sharon might be willing to work with us. Let's face it, maybe PFAS will be solved. We don't have to worry. We'll find some new well over here at Jarvis Farm, and we'll be in clover. So, or maybe the world will stop and they'll shut all our wells down, and we'll be dependent on the MWRA for 100% of our water. You can't tell me either one of those may not happen, because they might. So we're not, you don't have a crystal ball here. We're prepared for all the contingencies. We're responsible to the ratepayers, for the water consumers, so they have a supply of water. And that's intermediate, short-term, and long-term. This is a complex thing. It isn't just plug in Mylard Street and pay Norwood whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, it is, John. It pretty much is.
Well, it's your opinion.
But
It's not my opinion.
I believe that a connection to the MWRA is forward-thinking on your part. I believe the timing is good. I believe we need to figure out whether we're using it for redundancy or whether we're actually using it to improve water quality in the distribution system, and we're going to use it. And And I am going to need a little bit more guidance on why we are paying more for capital costs. Somebody, like that is a little confusing for me. And I will also share with you that pump stations are not getting less expensive. There are codes that are coming out every day. There's actually a code since I gave you the last price, which requires bathrooms in these pump stations. There is no version of any of this that results in less expensive pumping stations to be built. So, I get your frustration, but I just don't know that it's going to work that way.
And no one's got the crystal ball, just so we're clear. We don't know 5 years from now if we're going to need to have 30% of our water supplied supplementally, 50%, 60%, or no percent. We don't know that. That's the issue. So we have to have insurance, we have to have options, we may have to have two options here. Well, at least we have one emergency connection now. But, there's nothing wrong with thinking outside the box, talking to Sharon, see what, maybe they, if they knew they were going to be able to get all the emergency water they want from us, and we could take that system over and hook up to it, there's a big savings there. And they probably have their wheeling charges already locked in. So, that could be a good alternative to the expensive pumping station at Mylar and to the wheeling.
So, if I could ask, is it all about the wheeling charge? Or is it a combination of the wheeling charge and the infrastructure upgrades that Norwood is requesting?
Total cost,
The
yeah.
wheeling charge,
Total cost.
down the road, the wheeling charge could wind up costing several $100,000 a year.
Millions, yeah.
And that's, I mean, if it's double what it should be, if other people have 5 and 10%, why should we pay 20?
Sharon's paying 20.
Can I talk? So,
Yeah.
John, I know I showed up a little late, I'm sorry. Rick asked you what you want. You want the most inexpensive pump station, you don't want $5 million. Leah's telling me it's $5 million. It's actually 5.2 in the April memo I provided to the commissioners. I don't see the costs are not going backwards, and you know that, I know that from the construction environment that we're dealing with. The estimate that she gave us is now probably almost 6 months old. I don't see that happening. I just want to be a realist. We provided the commissioners with a lot of this information. So you said you want the most inexpensive pump station. I want $300,000 per year to Norwood. Norwood said that they could pay it the $7.9 million in improvements they want. That's $528,000.
No, Jim, that's with interest. That's at them borrowing. They're not borrowing. We're going to give them the 300. They don't have to pay interest to borrow it from the bank. We're giving it to them. So we're not giving them the interest and the money. They're getting 300.
Yeah. So
They want to pay the bank, us to pay the bank and the fee. This is not correct.
So they were not willing to negotiate. They're in the driver's seat. I know you're the 20% thing, you're firm on that. You don't like that, well, that was number 3. We don't get to dictate this. They are dictating it because we're running through the town of Norwood. She's looked at this other option that you kicked around through Canton, and we're kind of at a loss because, as Rick said, and I understand that he's frustrated, we just need some direction. I know, I've watched during the election season, the candidates who won don't want to spend money. And I've gotten the sense that statement was made. If you want to pursue this, we need a plan to commit to. And what we outlined in April, the average cost was going to be, with the increased water price, because we're going to have to treat it more, it's going to cost us a little bit more. The average cost for the water budget was $2.8 million increase per year. And we put that together with our finance people. We had Leah review it, checked if it's a reality. It's the cost of doing business. We're more than willing to do this. We'll propose an article. I just need to know, is that what the commissioners want to do? What's the number? If 2.8 million a year to the water budget is not sufficient, what's your number? Is it, we only want to add $1 million. Jim, get us the best deal you can get us for $1 million. I may come back and say, I can't get you a deal for $1 million. If the number is, you tell us what the number is, and we'll try to come up with a proposal. If we don't have a proposal, we won't have it. We'll be honest with you. What's the number?
I'm sorry you're taking that approach, Jim. I'm just telling you again, that's not the way we're doing this. I just said, I want the cheapest pumping stations. I want to know the array of prices for the cheapest pumping station. I want to know what other towns have paid for wheeling all over the place. I think
Yep, I got all
20%
3
is
points.
excessive. And we do have some leverage with the MWRA. And Norwood, you know, they're adulterating a process. They're part of the MWRA, and they're
Sure.
not being fair, they're not being
I took
judicious.
the notes on the 3 items you're asking for. We'll put together a report, we'll give you a memo, a report.
And we want to talk to Sharon lightly about how we might join up with them, because they got a pumping station there already. If we didn't want to use them their water unless we knew to, right? Do you agree with that? And we want to have reserves and resources, and we could, it's good to build a well, even if we can't use all the water right now.
The pump station,
But if PFAS and DEP says you can't use your water, we have to have a connection to the, we have to have both.
So why don't we do this, Mr. Chairman? Why don't we focus on any infrastructure that we would need to do to properly activate the emergency connection that we want in Union Street should the need come up?
Right.
Why don't we do that instead of just spending all this engineering money, checking 95, Route 1, and as far as the Sharon thing goes, that's a commission. You people should be negotiating on that. I think.
the Sharon connection ends up going into Norwood. It's not a,
Yeah, but it's already there.
Yeah,
You can't charge for more pipes, it's already there.
no, but I guess the question is, does it,
I do think that to get a proper automated, easy, true emergency connection, there would be a certain amount of infrastructure that would be required. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, out on Route 1 and maybe on Union Street and Walpole. And yeah, maybe you could go with, you know, some different kind of pump station. But the fact of the matter is, there's infrastructure that needs to be done to get the water to Walpole quickly in an emergency situation.
Let me try one more time. Let me try one more time. All right, let me see if I can give it a go, all right? Cheapest alternative is to do nothing. Exactly the way you are right now, all right? The next cheapest alternative is to go for an emergency connection that you can use under an emergency. Right now, you kind of have it, but you have to go get pumps, you have to go get infrastructure. So that is what we have talked about, and there is a version of this that works. You build a pump station, you connect your distribution systems, you use the Mylod Street, you do minimum system improvements in Norwood. You don't buy any water unless it's an emergency, so the wheeling fee is gone and off the table. You're not spending any of that money, okay? The next most expensive one is to do exactly that, but actually use it and buy it. It's a little bit of a different permitting, it's a little bit of a different twist with Norwood, it's more improvements in Norwood's system, and it's a wheeling fee. The most expensive alternative is to do a direct connection with the MWRA, and I believe that in that order. Does that help at all?
well, there is one other alternative, which is you don't deal with the MWA, you spend $4.5 million and put Minebrook 4 on, and you can decide to use it today, not today, because we don't need the water right now.
In my mind, that is the do-nothing approach at the moment.
Well, it costs to...
You all are doing all sorts of work on the side to make
Right.
all that happen. You're just not moving forward with sticking your foot in the door, right? That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get our foot in the door to hold our place for MWRA.
That's the only the advantage of the...
It is, and
going
it's a
over
significant advantage for you, because it is, I think it's forward-thinking, I think it preserves water for the town of Walpole. Go ahead, John.
The missing point is we don't have a consultant expert on PFAS in the future to really tell us what are the risks of not having MWRA water 5 years from now. What's the potential? They're going to shut half our wells down or more. what's the potential? It's going to cost us more to address PFAS than to be part of the MWRA system. That's the part we don't have. So we're shooting craps here with
No one does.
a big risk.
The crystal ball is broken. Okay, did I help at all?
Well,
I think we have, we're looking for feedback from you. But if Jim wants,
I got 4 items.
if you want us, you're telling us that we should go talk to Sharon?
No, I got 4, so my notes, I said, want the most inexpensive pump station. You want to do 300,000 per year to Norwood. You think 20% is too expensive, and you want us to reach out to Sharon and see if they'll allow us to use that connection.
Yeah, let me just explain that, Jim, again. If we have a capital improvement fee to our current customers of, let's say, $30 or $32 a year, that gives us $300,000. We give Norwood every year a check for $300,000. They don't have to go borrow the money from the bank. They don't have to pay $585,000. They're only going to get $300,000 from the bank.
For the next
We're
30
going to
years.
give them a check. We're not paying for the loan because we're going to pay a capital fee every year.
I just need to clarify the length. You want 300 over 30 years, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking.
No.
But I
300 over 25 years.
I just have a question on that, though, John. For us to make use of the MyLog, we can't wait 20 years of giving them, 300,000.
We're not waiting.
Well, so
We're not gonna pay them for the
what we
work
need,
that's
I didn't look at all of the work that Norwood identified, but I assume that they're saying you can't take the 1 million gallons a day unless you've made all these improvements.
No, I don't think they said that.
So then what, so they're just saying, how much, I guess my thought was, and maybe I'm incorrect, is we can't, they were saying we could do all these things, it'll take us 20 years before they fix it. Apparently, some of those must need to be done soon, and somebody's going to have to probably borrow money, whether it's us or them. You can't say, here's 300,000, well, that is, I mean, I'm just looking at what we're paying
I
for.
don't think they have any intention of doing the work further back on Pleasant Street.
Right. So they're just
within
holding
the
this
next
up.
few years. I didn't see it on their calendar.
No, probably not, but didn't they say that there was 20 years before they would get the things that they need to have done to their
Right,
system?
but I didn't hear them say that we'd have to wait.
So, we talked about this. Norwood is going to bond the improvements, and they are going to construct those improvements.
Well, that's what
And you
I'm
all are
getting
just
here.
going to
Yeah.
participate in
But I'm
paying.
hearing, no, they don't have to bond, we're going to give them 300, I'm thinking, when we do a water main project, it's cost $2 million plus right now, and
That's right. It was
somebody's going to borrow that money.
Bill, they're
was-
going to do these projects whether you do anything with them or not. They're running a capital budget. They're just charging.
Well, I don't
us for what
know.
They already got planned to do. They already told me they're going to do that work.
That is not exactly what I heard them say was that there was about half of the improvements were immediately necessary in order for you to get your 1 MGD, and the other half of the 8,000 feet or 7,000 feet was for betterments, for redundancy, to strengthen their system
All
for
right,
you.
so $4 million has to be spent by somebody
In order to, yes.
for us
Yes.
to connect.
Yes, in order for them to start
And-
giving you one drop.
So,
So
that
the
money,
immediate work that they identified was Mylod Street, that's a no-brainer then.
right.
We knew that. And 2 crossings at Hosbrook in South Norwood along Washington Street.
I don't care where they
Close
were, Rick,
proximity to the project, and they make sense.
but I don't care where they are. If we need a certain amount of improvements, and if you say half of them, all right, so it's roughly $4 million, that we need them to start working on, you can't say, well, we're just going to give you 300,000 and go ahead and get the work done. They're going to say, well, I have to hire somebody, a contractor, just like we do when we're, doing these water main projects. And you're going to have to, somebody's going to borrow for the entire $4 million.
The same terms that they offered the township, which was to pay it over 20 years.
He said,
They
he said up to
can
30
borrow it
years.
themselves,
whatever.
they borrow the money with the 300,000 a
But
year.
that, we can't, I understand they said, yes, you could spend it. That would mean that somebody's borrowed the money.
It would not be the town of Walpole borrowing it.
It would be Norwood.
Yeah.
And Norwood's saying, well, if you pay this, but I'm just hearing, no, they don't have to borrow money, because we're going to pay them $300,000 a year.
No, they can use the 300 to whatever they want to borrow. We're not paying.
Right, so that's not a case that somebody's not going to borrow money. Somebody's going to have to, and I would assume it would be Norwood, and we're paying the borrowing cost.
No, we're not.
Well, I don't know then what are we paying the
I would
300?
just say to them, they've said to me, go up to 300,000, make that work somehow, whether it's 275 and 25,000, that's what
All
I
right,
heard.
well, then I
We're
may be
not borrowing money
misunderstanding.
for that bill.
We're
Paying
budgeting.
them a fee.
We're going
And
to
Bill,
pay them.
they're not producing anything. We're going to pay it over years. They could go out of business next year. I'm not giving them $7 million for
Budget for
nothing.
each year. That's how I.
Well,
Yes, I understand
It's bull.
budgeting, whether we borrow it and give it to them, or they borrow it and we're paying the loan off essentially for it.
They're going to do the work
These
anyway.
things need to be worked out. We're a little bit before, like,
You're
this is
arguing
where I'm
against
going,
Bill. I
like,
don't care about their situation.
Norwood
They're
is
doing
a
their own
willing
improvements.
participant in this venture with the
Yes.
town of Walpole. They're actually being pretty generous, I think. So, a lot of these, which is another reason why I like this version, this alternative, right? Because if you go to some of these other alternatives, it becomes all of a sudden not as friendly as what we have tried to work out here. Sorry.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. The Sharon thing is a great possibility, properly explored.
Okay, so,
And you're making a lot of assumptions, but you don't know, because you're not talking shit.
I designed the Sharon pump station. So, the Sharon, yeah, there's no,
It's a deal in place.
But they haven't.
And if there's another town that joins into it,
If Sharon takes
it's got to be more economical.
Well, John, if Sharon takes water right now through that connection, they're paying a 20% rate.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Nobody does, but how do we avoid it if we?
And so, and another thing,
It's saving
we
the
saving
pump
again.
station cost, because you're so prohibitive on this pump station, for $5 million.
Are we holding up going to the Water Resources Commission because we don't have identified a site as,
yes, we have nothing to permit right now.
And
Do
so
you understand where I am? Like,
we're stopping and the clock on this no entrance fee thing is running.
everybody's doing what you're doing. You're in good company. Everybody's clamoring, trying to figure out exactly what you all are trying to figure out. So my suggestion would be you not focus as much on that timing and the schedule. I suggest we focus on what we want, where we want it, and if we want to use it.
Can the Water Resources Commission say, no, you've got the ability to produce that extra million that you're asking for, 1 million gallons a day, and maybe even more, and therefore I'm not giving you an interbasin transfer, what?
That is one of the things that frightens me.
Yes, so should we?
It has not ever happened. It would be unprecedented for it to happen, but we are in unprecedented times, if that makes sense, Bill. Like, they could say, no, we don't want to give Walpole 1 MGD of our identified 60 MGD because you guys have your own sources, you're doing additional development on sources, you're not abandoning any of them. They could say that. We need to be lock sync in that space, or it's not going to work.
No, that means we need more alternatives. Because we can't go with the
I actually-
and wind up nowhere.
John-
You protest.
We have some real smart guys in the office, and we were kind of scratching our heads over this the other day, and he said, you know what Walpole needs is they need an alternatives analysis. Like, we tried to rush this connection through, we tried to make some assumptions and fast track it, and really what we probably need is to go back to the drawing board and look at all of the different alternatives, crunch numbers and costs, and write reports, and do meetings, and do consensus building. That's probably what this project does need, actually.
Well, Jim, I think the Sharon situation, that can be an alternative, short-term alternative with the emergency connection, partnering with them, as opposed to building a second. There's two ways to go in that, building your own pump station, make an official connection versus partnering with them on what they got.
So
Then I have something live. Now, I don't know how that, but I think if Norwood knows we have alternatives, and you're looking at alternatives, there might be more cooperative on something like the wheeling charging. Maybe.
Okay, so the commission, four of you, is directing, I just want to be clear on my marching orders on this one. Just, please, John, I need to know if the other three commissioners want me to do this, because I have you as the chairman giving me a directive, but I don't hear anything from Pradeep, and I haven't heard anything from Patrick. The four items I wrote down. You want the most inexpensive pump station, see what we can get for less than $5 million. $300,000 a year to Norwood's the cap. 20% is too expensive for a wheeling fee. Reach out to Sharon directly, which I'll reach out to their TA, and see if we can connect via their pump station. Those are the four things you're looking for me to do.
The other thing we want to know, we want confirmation, Leah, that this system goes in on Mylard Street, that we're not forced to buy 1 million gallons. We're not forced to be at the threshold, at the top, that we can, as people were quoted here saying, we can use the water we need and we don't have to use it. We don't have to be wheeling when we don't need the water.
If you want an emergency connection, so now you want to...
No, I'm talking about the regular connection.
The regular connection, so you don't want to do 1 million gallons per day via the regular. You don't want to do a regular connection on 1 million gallons.
It's for the potential, the capacity of 1 million gallons.
I just want to make sure we're not on, if we sign up for $1 billion, we're not on the hook to pay for that $1 million a year.
Yeah, we're signing up that we could take up to.
So it'll be exactly what the scenario that Stoughton has right now, where they have the connection and the agreement in place. They don't use the water, so they don't pay the bill.
And I like the fact that wheeling is 10%.
So, got those 5 items. Could I ask Pradeep and Patrick?
I support John.
All right.
Yeah, I am agreeing with finding out the lowest cost option for this connectivity, because we are looking to supplement it. So if the lowest cost option is just to put emergency connection, that should.
So we'll go back with the 5 items and report back to you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Anytime.
Okay. Let's see. We have anything we want to take out of order here? What is it, 8:15?
Yeah, Cossowitz.
Stiles company.
You want to meet
I don't
with
think
them
is he
on
here?
Tuesday?
He's outside.
People outside. You want to go grab them?
He works for Stiles, right down the street?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe tonight isn't the best night for a water meter demonstration, if that's not too much of a hassle.
How long would the demonstration, I mean, we already have it. We're using the system, right? Is this something different than what we're using? Didn't we already,
We have about 200 plus in service right now.
are we considering changing to another option? Why did we start unless we had looked at all the options and decided that this was...
There is one more option we're looking at.
So this is the current company. Stiles company is the current company. What we
Stiles, yes.
start. Okay, they.
But they're just the salespeople. They don't... It would be Badgers or somebody else's system that they'd be selling us.
It's Beacon software.
Okay. This is good for the public too to see this.
Yes.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Love it. Can I have it?
Why not? Gotta be black or blue. No.
What can I have?
The Wi-Fi, yes. It's not greatly, I think you use your phone.
Is this Chairman of the board public Wi-Fi?
We do, but it's not on sometimes in here. That's why I put like a cable over.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's a good one. I just want my pens, give them on. Okay?
Finish up the row.
Oh, thanks.
You.
What's going on?
You're on.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. I'm Ian with Stiles Company. Quick introduction from our side. We have Steve Bazell from Stiles. Hey guys. He's an account manager for the area. Chris Johnson, he's a local technical support specialist. Works in our office right down the street in Norwood. And we have Chris McLean, brand new with us, here to learn with you guys. And I'm Ian from Stiles. I'm one of the owners of Stiles Company and their AMR, AMI specialist. Thanks for having us in tonight. Don't want to take a ton of your time, so I know we're here to kind of do a demo, answer questions, talk about the system. I'd like to hear from you first on what you want to see, hear about, and I can kind of cater it and not be here for hours. So anyone start with what you'd like to see? It's just go hop into the software, learn more about Stiles, Badger, the system, see in action, do whatever you guys want.
So I think the demo is for the current meter upgrades, which...
So this system is what we're currently piloting. When I keep referring to, we have 100 meters, 150, 200. This is the system that he's showing you.
Yeah, so for the public good, most of the people that end up watching it, so you can just give an overview of the new meters which are being installed. We'll go from there.
Perfect. Awesome. I'll give a quick introduction. I already introduced you to Stiles and folks in the room. But just because you don't know Badger, I'll introduce him. Badger Meter. We are the authorized distributors for Badger Meter in New England. Badger has been around since 1905. They're the oldest wholly owned North American meter company. They're right in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Their focus, similar to Stiles, is the utility market. So they don't get their hands on really anything else but water meters for the utility, and then also for the industrial side, like mag meters that you might see in your plants. With Stiles Company, we're similar to Badger, where our focus as a company is also meters. We're not a typical waterworks supply house. We focus on meters and a ton of customer service and support behind it. With that, we have a full crew in-house of support specialists and trainers. So you never have to call Badger in Wisconsin. You can call us. Like I said before, we're located right down the street in Norwood. And we have 3 certified, factory certified technical support specialists and trainers. We'll talk about the meters really quick because you guys are using them now.
I think as far as the actual meters themselves, that won't be the focus. It will be the collection, how the data is transmitted, received. Because we're having issues with the obsolete system we have now.
Yep.
It's been there for 20 years. We're trying to avoid the problems we're having now and then move forward.
That's perfect. So we'll hop right into technology. With technology, it's always important to look backwards a little bit so you can see where it came from, where it's going, where we're at currently, what we're talking about now with you guys and what you're piloting. So you're a little unique because you were ahead of the game in New England, where you guys have a traditional fixed network system today. Those systems first came out in the late 90s and then started to gain a little popularity in the 2000s, not too much in New England. Most of that has to do with topography, but you guys have had a fixed network system. I don't know what year you put it in, but you were one of the early adapters, believe it or not. Since then, they have newer kinds, what they're calling IoT-driven networks, where they're not technically utilizing your own network, utilizing systems like cellular or LoRa. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Focus kind of on what's available now and what will be available in the future. So Badger calls their family of radios Orion. So it is an Orion cellular endpoint that you guys are installing for the pilot, and that is the family of radios that we that we sell. It's been out since 2002. What's important with this is, and when you talk about technology with the meter world, is being forwards and backwards compatible. So all of our customers, if you use an Orion radio, everything has been forward backwards compatible since 2002. So if they put our radio back in 2006 and need a new piece of equipment today to read it, they'll be able to read anything going back and anything moving forward. Same thing with the software, super important in this day and age. The software system that you guys have implemented for the pilot supports any technology you can think of, drive-by, manual reads, fixed network, cellular, you name it. So that as well as also forwards and backwards compatible. Everything we're talking about with technology is a 20-year warranty. It's industry standard, so it's 10 full, 10 prorated. That goes with everything that you have in the system right now with the 200. One thing I want to point out, and I'll point it out again, is the warranty covers your typical craftsmanship, battery life. If it prematurely dies year 9, you get a brand new one, no questions asked. It also covers the network. We are talking about cellular, we'll get into it a little more. But the warranty that we have documented from Badger covers both the radio itself and also the network to ensure that's going to be for a full 20 years. The radio, the endpoint is compatible with every meter manufacturer, pretty much every meter manufacturer that's out there, as long as it's 3-wire capable. So if you guys have invested money in accurate meters that you have in place, we're not coming in here today to tell you to take them all out. The endpoint, the radio that you're piloting, will work with any 3-wire meter. I believe you have a mix of Amcos, ABBs, Elsters, and then obviously newer Badgers as well. So we're not going to talk about drive-by, we're going to hop right into the network, which you guys have currently. So what you have is called a point-to-point fixed network system. You guys at some point hung up collectors, repeaters, or gateways throughout your town. The radio is on the outside of the house, maybe somewhere inside. That radio communicates to that gateway, and it backhauls the information to the office. That was developed, like I said, back in the late 90s. Never took off too much in New England, and we're not really talking about it too much anymore, and here are some reasons why. Installing and managing a proprietary fixed network was never really the core competency of a water department, at least the ones that we deal with. Most of them didn't have a full team of support, network people that can handle the network. The cost was always an inhibiting factor for towns where today you want to look at a traditional fixed network again, or updating what you have to build up the network before you can even think about putting a radio in or an endpoint. Infrastructure, a lot of times we deal with didn't have the high points in town where we have to mount these gateways and these antennas, so that was always difficult. You had to either find places, lease space, erect a pole. Unpredictable and outdated, that's the biggest reason why today, for most utilities that we have this discussion with, we're not talking about these traditional proprietary fixed networks. Most meter manufacturers, most big meter manufacturers in states and elsewhere are looking at that next generation of technology, an IoT-driven network, Internet of Things, typically being a cellular network, LoRa, Sigfox, a few other brands. So it's concerning to talk about traditional fixed networks when we know they're kind of on the outs, right? They're becoming outdated right now. In 5 years, what's it going to look like? Are we going to have to come back here and say, hey, the gateway you bought from us and installed is actually obsolete? They have a new system working off cellular. We don't have to do that. We know where every manufacturer is trying to get to. We've been here now since 2014, and that's been the best option for most towns that we're dealing with.
Wait a minute, you are cellular, right?
Yes. Yep.
When you say point-to-point, what do you mean? What do you mean about?
That's a traditional fixed network like you guys have. It's called a point-to-point system, where you have to actually build out your own network.
So we have a tower somewhere?
You guys have towers and gateways, repeaters spread out throughout your system to actually
You're going to use those?
You guys currently use those.
So you're using the towers that are there?
We're going to use towers that are there, but not yours. We're going to use the existing cellular infrastructure that's already around this area. So you stole my thunder, that's what I'm leading to. What's happened basically is that the cell carriers are becoming the default communication network, right? We've seen the trend in our personal lives. It's happened in what we should call this machine-to-machine cellular technology that we're talking about today. So basically, the infrastructure got built out like crazy, and we're now utilizing it. One big difference to point out before we really talk about cellular, because typically we mention the word cellular, people think of their phones. What we're talking about today is the M2M, or the machine-to-machine cellular network. And I'm not sure in this room how many people are well versed in what that is, what the differences are. But basically, the best example is OnStar. Back in the 90s, everyone remembers OnStar in the car. That was the first cellular machine device that was intended not to communicate voice or data, but just a little quick packet of information. Since then, the industry has blown up. There's over 3.2, 3.3 billion devices, at least machine devices out there. Shipping industry, vending machines, healthcare. There's little SIM cards basically that's in our phones, but their only purpose is to transmit machine data. So quick data burst. How many Diet Cokes do I have left in this vending machine? You can track the UPS truck in that container because of these little chips, cell phone chips. What's happened in the cell network industry is that that's blown up so much that they've actually divided the networks. So you have your typical consumer platform that's going to keep evolving. You see commercials on TV for 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G. Those are the consumer network side. We have to keep up with download speeds, streaming speeds, you name it. With a machine network, there's no need for that. It has to stay steady for 20 plus years because the machines that it's working for is just transmitting a little data burst. So there's actually divided networks. We're using the LTE-M network. It's a Cat M1 network. So it's a dedicated network from AT&T, Verizon, all the big carriers for machine devices. So the way our system works is you're going to have an endpoint. You can pass out over there. These are two examples. You've not seen them. So now with our system, you don't have to erect the network like we discussed, like you guys did 10, 15 years ago. You already have it around. We did what's called coverage analysis to make sure it would work here. You have 100% coverage, 85% from the Verizon machine network, 15% from the AT&T machine network, which we work with both. So you have 100% coverage in your service territory, which is great. These endpoints, that's what we call them. I don't know what you call your KP radios. Radio, MXU, MTU, all the same, just different verbiage. These radios will hook up to an existing meter or a new meter and automatically start transmitting that data to the cellular network in the area. You have a cloud-based software system on your computer in the office. Derek has it. You'll have access to it as well at the water department. And within 6 hours, you can start reading that meter. So it's basically like its own fixed network within that one endpoint. There's nothing else to it. No other laptops, handhelds, gateways, antennas. It's literally that one endpoint that you see on the table over there.
So a quick question, this Orient cellular endpoint, you are the dealer, distributor for it?
Exactly. We are the distributor in New England for Badger Meters manufacturer. We're the authorized distributor.
And whenever you're saying that machine network, so are you sure that the Walpole area has a better machine network?
Yes. Yep. We did a coverage analysis. I don't know if I've sent it to you before. They did coverage strength, RSSI value for every single location. And like I said, we have two carriers, luckily. Usually, no matter where we work, and we do all up north, New Hampshire, you name it, between those two carriers, we can have pretty good success. And so we already did the study where it came back really well. 100% success. Now, keep in mind, we compare it to sending a text message. Sometimes you can send a text, but you can't make a phone call. We need minimal data like that, and that's typically why we have success. So the endpoint itself can go up to 5-mile range to a cell tower. We recommend you can keep it inside or outside. Obviously, if it's outside, even better. But inside, we did the coverage analysis based off being inside. Worst case scenario.
Walpole is very big, 3 zip codes, so I think there are lots of
Yep. Yeah, there were 3 zip codes. I do remember that when I submitted the addresses to the carriers. And if you have specific streets that you're worried about, let me know. But we did do it for every street where you have a meter address.
So the issue is the technology is good, the technology is better, the dead zones we have to identify from the beginning, because if you know all those dead zones from the beginning, we can start planning for it. Otherwise, there's no point in installing a meter when you know that it's already dead zone.
Absolutely. And that's why we always ask the addresses day one so we can do the coverage analysis for the carriers, because we never want to pitch or sell something that's not going to work. This is what the map will look like. I'll show you it because we've already done the coverage analysis. This isn't yours, but the results are yours. Where 85%, there was 100% sufficient coverage for the machine-to-machine networks. 85% for Verizon, 50%
Walpole or?
No, that's not Walpole, but I'll send you yours. It's hard to see on this map. I'll send you your actual results. and you can kind of look at the streets. There'll be shades similar to this map where purple's strong, blue's sufficient, light blue we don't want to see. But luckily for your area, we don't see everything at 100%. And keep in mind, when I run those studies, I run it based off putting everything inside. But I know here you guys already have the KP radios outside, so the plan would be to put them outside. If they're going to work inside, we know for certain it's going to work outside. That's usually like all right, we can't get it to work inside under a metal lid in a pit. Let's get it outside, exterior of the house, and we typically have no issues. So we ran the study, got 100% coverage based off being inside, which is why we're not concerned if we then put it outside. But I know you're in a good position because you guys are doing the pilot. You have over 200 installed. If there are streets that, come to your mind right away, hey, try these streets, let's have, and I know you were worried about in the beginning, so I don't know if you've already put them in those streets, but we'd be happy to test it out. It's nice too with installation of these. You know right at the location if it's going to work or not. So let's say we put it inside and we try to activate it with a little tool, it'll tell us to hook up to the network. So we'll know right away, and we know we have to relocate it outside, different side of the house, and what the necessary steps are. So with the endpoint, it's going to transmit up to 4 times per day during the weekday, once per day on the weekend. You're going to be able to see 15-minute interval data, which is really important. I'm not sure what you can see now with your system. Typically, it's been hourly, daily. This, you'll be able to phone in on every 15 minutes what's going through the meter. The endpoint itself will store 42 days of data, so if for some reason the network goes down or it's not getting a signal out because of where it's located, as long as it gets coverage back within 42 days, it'll backfill all the information. Regarding the call-in time, since you did have a fixed network a while ago, there used to be a feature called On Demand where you can tell it from the software, extract a read right now, you can force a read. We stopped doing that because of battery life. Every time you do that, you're going to waste the battery, and we're water, so we're relying on these batteries, and we want to sell you a true 20-year system. So what Badger's done instead is that you can actually choose through the call times. So you won't be able to say, give me a read right this second, but you can choose, you start your day at 8 o'clock with customer service reps, have everything calling at 8, so when you start getting your calls from customers, they'll be able to see up-to-date information. One important fact that I'll point out, and I'll talk about more later, is each endpoint, our system comes standard with a built-in customer portal. I don't think it's something you guys have now. So once you put this endpoint in, that homeowner can now have access to a secure website or smartphone application. They can monitor their own water usage, set up custom leak alerts, they get a text or an email. Really, really helps cut back the customer service calls. Kind of what the customer base is expecting. They see it in other utilities with gas and electric. It's kind of catching up with that, where they can monitor their own usage, see the impact of when they have their kids from college, when they fill up the pool, they'll be able to really see right there on their smartphone how much water did that use. They get a bill from the water department, they're not going to complain or call or argue it because they already know their usage based off the customer portal. So that's just standard in our system. It's available the second you put one of these endpoints in. And it's through Badger Meter. It's not a third party. We support it as well over at Stiles Company.
So we installed the commission as a pilot program, so they may have already seen the app you're talking about.
Yeah, so anyone, if any of you folks have had it installed as a pilot, you can sign up for the app. I think I've seen a couple in your portfolio that's already signed up. It's a big thing. We try to help promote it. We have a lot of flyers. We do custom videos. We want everyone using it, and it's good for you guys too. A lot of towns, I don't know if you guys still do abatements or anything like that. Once you offer a portal, we see a lot of utilities getting rid of abatements because now the responsibility is they have the availability and the responsibility on the homeowner to be able to catch a leak right away when it happens or see the usage right away when it happens. They don't actually have to come back to you guys and say, oh, I didn't know about it till later. I already went through the meter. This will tell them right away. System redundancy, this is a huge hot button when you talk about traditional fixed network systems and any AMI fixed network system. So what happens when one tower goes down? So currently you guys have a fixed network system. You put up gateways or repeaters. If you lose one, you probably lose every single meter report to that one gateway. That's system redundancy. With cellular, with this system, you're going to have it built in just because it can go 5 miles, and a lot of the time, the way they've built up these networks is if one tower goes down, there's going to be another one within 5-mile range. It also has mobile backup, so God forbid, everything went down, tornado, whatever, through town, you need to get live meter reads, you can always drive by our meters from the street and do like an old drive-by system and get the reads right to a handheld, export it into the computer. Most of our customers don't use it, but it's great to know you have it in your back pocket in case you need it. And then the storage is also another way for system redundancy, that the endpoint stores it itself. Typically within 42 days, these cell carriers can get back online. Even after a storm, usually takes them 2 or 3 days, you'll be able to get your meter reads right away. So why cellular? Why is it going in popularity? Why are most meter manufacturers going that route? It's a fixed network made easy. It's very easy to get up and running, and it's great to run in parallel with an existing system. So you guys have an existing system. You might be having some failures, not sure what route you're going to go. This system's very, very easy to run while you're still running the other system. It's not like you have to rip everything out and put everything in all at once. It really allows you to take your time and do it at your own pace. It's reliable. The cell network is the most reliable network out there. I'm sure you've seen examples when there's huge storms down south and you see the drones come in with these portable cell towers and usually get it back online. You know, it's first responders, police, fire, hospital, all using cellular network, so there's a big motivation for the companies to get it back online. We get to piggyback off of that, so we get to get the meter reads back in case they go down. Robust, they're built out for the consumer platform to keep the voice. Overkill for what we need, but we get to take advantage of it. So this system that we're proposing is a true network as a service solution, meaning that with this system, you worry about your day job as a water utility, making clean drinking water, installing the meters, repairing the meters themselves, but not have to worry about the network whatsoever. So that goes for the network on the consumer, on the utility side, and the consumer portal as well. Any questions? I tend to talk fast and mumble.
In a mature client base, what's the successful training mechanism to get public, particularly senior citizens, onto the system and understand how to use it?
That's a great question. I'll bring it up for you so you see it as well. One thing Spag have done really nice with the portal side is they keep it very, very simple for that reason, right? Homeowners aren't water people. They don't understand water usage. So we've kept billing out of it. We've kept rates out of it. It's strictly just a usage portal and a place to be able to see leaks and get alerted to those leaks. So we'll show you it and talk about it a little more. In terms of supporting it, we do all the training from our office, and we also support the portal as well. So any questions from the customer base, from the public, for, hey, I forgot my password, how do I log into this? You refer them to Stiles. You guys aren't tech support at the water department, you don't have time for that. We support all of it. And I have with me a list of other accounts in the area other towns using the system. Strongly recommend calling them to ask them the same questions. Okay, have you noticed a learning curve with your public? How many people are signing up? How many people are utilizing it? Has it cut back in customer service calls? Definitely reach out. We know the answers, but we wanted to hear from them as well.
Do the towns have an internal staff person who can train?
Yeah, typically we train the water department, and really the billing office is the first kind of line of defense and who we train first. They always want to be well-versed in both their side and the portal, pretty much the same. So they can always talk about it. They can actually, I'm going to open up the demo in a second because that will give you a good understanding of the system. They can actually see what the customer sees, so it's very easy for them to talk through exactly what they're talking through. They don't just see their side.
Excuse me, what is the cost of the system? Like, for instance, what would be the cost to Walpole?
That's a great question. Skipping ahead. I usually leave that to the end, so that I get to leave before you even ask about pricing. But we can discuss it here. Maybe we'll do the demo first and bring it back up to end with it. With pricing, I know we're on a public stream or TV. We typically don't call.
We have transparency.
Perfect. So it's going to be public anyways, but with pricing, so you guys did a pilot. You have our software, which pretty much is our system in place right now. The only thing missing is the interface with your billing software, which is Munis, I believe. So that's the only expense if you decide to, hey, let's move full blown with this system. It's working out great. The only upfront day one expense, since you already put the system in, would be just the interface. It's under or right around $10,000, I believe. I think I can send you guys a quote at some point. That will just pretty much the last upfront cost. It includes additional training on site, but the big piece of that is to build a bridge to Munis. After that, you buy the meters, or the radios, sorry, the endpoints only. And then the biggest difference is between this system and what you were used to running in the past is they added what's called a service unit fee to each endpoint. It's not a cellular charge. Most people, they hear cellular, they assume they're gonna have a cell fee, you know, just like we do for our phones. What Badger's done, and it's all through Badger Meter, is that they've included what's called a service unit fee. Now, why I like to kind of differentiate service unit fee versus I have a whole section for it, because I thought you could ask the question. The reason why they call it service unit fee is because it doesn't just cover the cell charge. Our system is an all-inclusive system. It's typically a really good thing. Once in a while, we'll hear a customer say, hey, we don't want the customer portal, can we pay less? It's all built in. And so with that service unit fee, you can estimate, just to be full transparency, anywhere from low 70 cents to mid 80 cents. And where I say there's a range, it's because it all depends on how many you have installed and how frequently you want to pay for it.
The second part of that is, in most houses, we have gas and electricity. Can we make any money on this system if we install it with other utilities? In other words, can the gas company hitch up to it? Can the Edison hitch up to it, or the electric company?
It's a great
question.
question.
In other words, we'd be a point for them, a communications point. And that would help us defray the cost of this thing.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, not at the radio itself. We can share, it's all interoperability. We can share the data we're getting with the other utilities and vice versa. But our endpoint that you see there, it won't be able to hook up to your electric meter, your gas meter, and your water meter. It's just water. Are you guys a municipal electric?
No.
Once in a while, you'll see that flipped, where there's a municipal electric company and their radio can read both the water and electric. Typically the water is like kind of this redheaded stepchild, they don't really care about it, but you never see it reversed, unfortunately. Good question though. I think making money is probably the wrong way to put it, but what we see most towns doing, because the service unit fee, and like this system's been out since 2014, so there's a good track record now, and plenty of customers throughout the country using it and New England using it. What they do with that service unit fee is they pass it back to the homeowner, and the reason why it's okay to do that is you're actually giving them something for the first time, besides really clean, valuable drinking water. You're giving them access to that customer portal, which can save them a tremendous amount of money and headaches. So what we see most of our customer base, they don't pass it on through a rate increase, it's more through a fixed cost. So if there's an admin fee already in place or some sort of fixed cost on their quarterly bill or monthly bill, or however often you bill it, you add the 80 cents to that and that covers the system fees. We've seen that as a very popular option for most towns that we do this with. Any other questions? The other big thing to point out with pricing, I guess before we move on to the actual demo part, is one important piece to see here is it's very transparent, like you mentioned, and allows for predictable utility budgeting. What we mean by that is you're going to know exactly what the system costs based on how many you have installed. There's nothing we can hide. There's no other additional annual fees, software costs, updates, upgrade fees throughout the life of the system. It's all built into that service unit fee. With that, if you compare it to a traditional fixed network like you have now, there's a lot of surprise costs throughout the 20-year life cycle of those kind of systems. Gateways, repeaters, antennas always have to be replaced. Firmware updates are often needed. Servers have to be replaced. So there's a lot of these unknown costs with traditional fixed network systems. With a system like this, network as a service, the managed solution, there's another name for it. You know exactly what the system will cost you for the life of the system. So it kind of helps utilities with their capital planning and budgeting for not just the next 5 years, but also into the next 20 years of the system. We like to term it future-proof, where you're kind of protected now about technology obsolescence and unknown costs.
I have a question.
Yeah.
All the devices, will they be some kind of private network for the Walpole, like VPN security device?
Great question. Are you a IT security guy?
No, we have used the similar beacon devices in different.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. Cybersecurity and what you're talking about, network security, probably the biggest hot button topics under PFAS in the industry. There are always classes on cybersecurity and these are data secure. So I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of glossed over it and didn't make a big deal out of it, but I should have. The network that we're using, it is going to go on a private VPN on the back end. So it does not touch public internet, which is a very...
Is that VPN private for Walpole or is it for all?
It's private, it's through AT&T, it's their private network. So anyone using the system is going to be using the backhaul of the private VPN from AT&T or Verizon.
And is there any, incident where these devices are hacked by somebody?
Nope. And the nice thing too is we have to worry with that on 3 different locations. So the actual physical tower itself, right? The nice thing with cellular is that they actually, if you've ever been out where a cell tower is, there's the fence, the security, the cameras. Most traditional fixed networks, and I can't say this about you guys, but wherever your current gateway is or gateways, I'm assuming you don't have the same security. So we have security covered at the physical cell carrier tower, and then you have at the endpoint, like you just mentioned, we have encryption, obviously 156-bit encryption from the endpoint. It's also important to know that the endpoint, the radio, is transmitting a 9-digit number, which is the read, just without a decimal point, a serial number, 9-digit serial number, and that's it. It's not transmitting any sort of information from the customer, obviously any billing information. It's just transmitting those raw read digits. Where some of the data is then stored is on the software end, and that's another piece that we have to protect, right? That Badger has to protect. So with that, this is ISO 9. I'm not an IT guy, but they use SOC 2 and IS 2700, which are usually the financial firms use for cloud-based software, and they're using Amazon Web Services, which obviously is super secure on the back end to store the data.
So yeah, this beacon and all is well known, like beacon software is well known. The only thing unknown is about this device, like how much hackable is this device? Anyone can change this device and can do something like that.
It has the 156-bit encryption, and then it doesn't touch public internet. So those are probably two big
installation. This is particularly tagged for the Walpole.
Oh, 100%. Okay, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a license. It's licensed, but through the cellular license, not your traditional FCC license you guys have now with your system. But anything that you guys get to Walpole gets assigned to only Walpole's bank, we call it.
Okay.
So it's only going to work in this town.
And only the Walpole team will have access to this device.
Exactly.
No
one else. Okay. So even though the homeowner will be able to see their usage, they can't see neighbors' usages, they can't see anything else.
I'm more worried about let's say Norwood.
The hackers,
Norwood or somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Ransomware, all that.
Yeah.
Yep. So if it works for you, I'll open up the system so you can get a feel of what it actually looks like if you haven't seen it yet. It has a lot of true benefits. I don't know how interested this room is, but one big thing that I can't necessarily show in the demo part is NRW, non-revenue water. That's a big hot button subject for towns. Where is the water that you're making, spending a lot of money on, going? Hopefully it's a low number here, but if it's not, the system will help tremendously get a handle on it by monitoring what you're making every day versus what you're selling every day. So we'll take that information into our system, and you'll be able to monitor it at that level.
I just want to tell one thing, I was able to detect when my kid had a school vacation.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's like, the water is just changed.
You never realized how much...
He was not taking showers, so...
That's not, it wasn't showers? Yeah. So the software is cloud-based, meaning that you sign on to the website, it's not going to be on your computer. It's a good thing. Derek right now does most of the billing for the utility. He has access, but from there he invited already, and you can invite as many users as you want from the utility end, including the commissioners as well, so you can have a full scope of the full system. With that, you can set up different levels of access. So if we don't, trust everyone in the room, you can have it just they can see things, not change things. Very flexible. What I just signed into here is the Stiles support website for Beacon. So all of our customers provide access to us. They invite us like we're one of the utility people. so they can call our 3 support folks anytime, and if we can't remote in, we can go to their town, open it up, and help talk them through whatever issue they might be having. I like to kind of just slowly discuss it while I go through here, just so you can see that there's a lot of towns in New England using this system that we support at Stiles. So for a demo purpose, I can bring up your 207, or I can bring up the town of Sharon next door, so you can see what like a fully, more built out one is. Do you guys have a preference?
I would say to use Sharon, just so that nothing comes up on the screen for one person.
Yeah. So usually I'll do another state in case someone lives in that town. We've got permission from Sharon because of those security parameters we just talked about. We're not supposed to show real customers, but the town of Sharon did give us permission to show their system. So they did a full change out a few years back. They put in all new meters at the same time, which, like we said here, is not totally necessary. I will mention they put in probably 95% new meters. They had old Badger meters, our traditional mechanical meter, in place at some locations that they wanted to keep. They retrofitted those. So it's really cost efficient for them to do that for some section of town. I know you folks have some old Badger mechanical meters as well. It's always an option. We can keep those in place and just retrofit it with a new register, just a new radio. So when they log in now to the system, this is exactly what yours will look like. Just the quantity, the number of accounts will be different. This is what you see. This is your dashboard. They'll be able to see communication health. This is the big one for us on the support level on what's working with the system right now. I don't know if you can monitor that with your traditional fixed network system, how many are calling into the gateway on a daily basis and available at your fingertips, but that's the most important number. So right now they have 17 endpoints not communicating out of 5,822. It's an excellent number. If we see 99.7, we like to see that. A lot of the time, what they can do is click on this. You see how the mouse changes? It'll bring to those 17 accounts, and it'll order for them, the oldest one to call in, so they know what to go attack in the field. If it hasn't called in 7 days, just wait it out, probably call it again. If it hasn't called in for 2 months, it'll let you know that. You probably want to go make an appointment to see if this is an installation issue, bad battery, bad communication, what it could be. They'll figure it out from there. Flow health, this is probably the most important widget that folks look at a utility end, where they can see how many leaks are in my system, how many reverse flow or backflows are in my system, continuous flow, no recent flow, you name it. I'll go back to that so we can see what determines a leak. Those are usually what most people want to seeing. Device health, this all depends on the meters hooked up to. So over the past year plus, you've purchased and installed a couple thousand, almost 2,000 of these new ultrasonic Badger meters. The nice part that you've done that is our system has some extra alerts and alarms built into those meters that our system will pick up. So device health will pick up any device issue, not flow related, from the meter. So whatever the meter is capable of. For example, the meter that you guys installed, this is what it looks like. This meter has your usage, your leaks, your reverse flows, which are pretty much a standard alarm that you get from any meter. So if we do install this radio with one of your old Elster meters or a different meter like that, you'll get usage, leak alerts, and reverse flow. What this meter adds on top of it is an empty pipe alarm. So if someone takes a full meter out, you get an alarm for that. There's a low temperature alert. If it gets down to 39 degrees ambient around the meter, they'll send an alarm for that. Hopefully cash report freezes. So introducing this style meter, coupling it with that endpoint in the system, you're going to get some more advanced alerts and alarms automatically just because you have it installed. And that will pop up on a device health. So they have 13 right now. I can click on those 13 and it'll tell me what those alarms are.
Ian, we got a little time constraint.
Perfect. I will finish up with bill reads and then show you an account with a leak, and we can wrap it up. So bill reads, not really important for the folks in the room, more important for Derek on his end, but once we build that interface to Munis, that next step we were talking about, he's going to be able to automate the entire process from reading the meters to billing. It's done by saying whenever it's monthly or quarterly, you click Get Bill and Read, check this box, hit this button, and you literally just did your billing. You open up Munis, drag it in, and you're done. Very efficient process on the billing end. You'll have your top accounts by usage, automatically takes your top 25. The nice thing with this feature, it's not that valuable until it is valuable, one of those things, where all of a sudden a resident just jumps into number 2. it'll alert you of that, tell you when your spots are jumped up. You probably want to call that residential customer. They probably shouldn't be in your top 25, should be one of your bigger users, and alert them of an issue they might have. Our system also has meters that measure pressure and temperature of the water, very valuable for water quality, and pressure very valuable for monitoring the distribution side leaks, water main breaks. So our system will be able to monitor that, send it back to the main page. What I'd like to do is look at a customer with a leak.
And could we have a little time shortage? We have a lot of other appointments, so maybe take questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, we can wrap it up with that. If you guys have questions or want to see anything else on the system, I'll have it open. That's what we're here for. Any questions? Do you want to see the customer portal real quick? Whoever asked the question about how technical it was? No, perfect.
Most of the commissioners, they have the app.
You have the app already and play around with it. It's very, I mean, you can tell me then if it's easy to use and
Yeah, it's, good interface so far.
user-friendly. Any other questions, concerns? This is the website version, so I went into that through a customer, so it's great for the utility side where they obviously are blind to the customer seeing. Not anymore, they can now see it, and it gives them very basic information where they can see their usage going down to every 15 minutes. This is, they have a 2 gallon per hour leak. They can set a leak alert if they wanted to. If they leave water running and they go on Florida for a few months, they can actually set continuous flow alert, so they won't get notified for like a gallon per minute, but they'll get notified for anything above 5 gallons per minute. So very easy to use, very customizable. One thing I'll leave you guys with, if there aren't any questions, is just the whole partnership between the different parties here. So obviously you're going to be able to partner with a very reputable North American meter manufacturer. End of the day, you're going to have them for the full 20 years of the system. You have them for support. There's no additional charge. But you also have us at Stiles, local support, local vendor. We have these in stock. You can always have them delivered whenever you need them in a single source. So with our system, everything we discussed from the meter to the endpoint to the software to the customer portal, it's all through one phone number. Just call us if you need help. Call Badger Meter. You don't have to worry about pointing fingers or playing a game. That's yeah, that's what I'll leave you with. Talk about it for hours. Any questions? That's really what we're here for.
Good.
Appreciate getting the first question out of the way.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you. You're our rep?
What's that?
You're our rep?
I can be, yeah, I am definitely. Steve.
You have a card with it?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Thanks for very special.
What material was that water meter made of?
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is it?
It's stainless.
It looked like galvanized.
Yeah, it's just stainless steel. When the industry in 2014 went to low lead.
It is stainless?
Yeah, that was one of the options. Pretty robust.
Footbridge 6 or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. They have a low lead bronze option too now, but a lot of people like the durability of the stainless. They have a plastic one too.
Okay.
Thanks again.
We have, I guess David Waluka, Petrosi's no longer here. I'm going to turn this over for Waluka.
So Mr. Petrosi's not
I
coming.
guess not, I don't know what happened. Did he say he was leaving or just went to his car?
Okay.
All right, I'll just leave my stuff.
Can you call David?
He's here.
In a hotel, we should have had pillows and blankets and everything.
That's all. The air conditioning is fine.
So we open the meeting discussion on Optimum Hospitality at 990 Providence Highway. We have a letter to the board regarding the some options which was given to us connecting the existing Appleby in Walpole, and there's a new plan to set up Chase Bank, a hotel similar to the original approved plan in 2019, and a 7,200 square foot office retail building, a portion of which will be a cannabis dispensary in Sharon. So these are the four plans in the site, which is at 990 Providence Highway. I think you want to summarize the letter and go from it.
Good evening, I'm Nadine Bailey. I'm with Mackey and Mackey, and I represent Optima Hospitality, Mr. Luca. I'm filling in for Phil Mackey, who has been before you in this regard with the water and sewer connection proposals that we're presenting tonight, and wishing that the commissioners would approve and vote on. It is for a water connection and a sewer connection to a 7,200 square foot office retail space that's located in the Sharon portion of 990 Providence Highway. The connection would entail an extra 450 gallons a day, in addition to the already existing water and sewer agreements that were in place since 2019. The water connection, the connection fee what we're proposing is $10,000, a one-time sprinkler service fee of $2,500, which we're not we're not required to have, but we are requesting it for public safety reasons. And then the sewer flow special entrance fee is $25,000 that we're proposing. And we'd like to take the commissioners' questions or that they might have regarding the proposal.
Yeah, I have a few questions.
Sure.
This, basically what we're deciding tonight is there are two documents that you call addendums to.
Yes.
An agreement that was made in 2019.
Correct.
That was never fulfilled. And the first question is, why do we have these two amendments now, after how many years? Okay.
Yeah.
If I could answer.
You got to use the microphone.
Yeah, okay.
Good evening, Dave Luca for Optima. The additional water for the Sharon portion was in the original agreements. And what town council and Mr. Mackey decided, it was not our, was to make it cleaner, to make it an addendum, since the rest of it was going to stay in place. So it was between Mark and Phil that they decided that was the best route to go. So it wasn't our decision.
I think in December, you came before us, and there was, the hotel was totally in Walpole. There was the bank, and Applebee's was going to disappear. I remember you telling, I maybe shouldn't have told because some Applebee's people, what happened? Why aren't we doing there? There was no dealing with Sharon.
Applebee's changed their mind after I spent 6 figures in engineering and came before you. They virtually said, we're not going to leave, which meant they could have stayed through the end of 2025 before they would tell me if they were going to leave. And I said, I can't do that. So it took me 4 months to negotiate. They decided to stay. The corporate, now, this is not corporate Applebee's. This is Apple America. They're the largest franchisee in the U.S. And this is just one of, they own hundreds of KFCs and all the other stuff. And what they've done is corporately, they've shifted their business plan, they're expanding. So they're looking at other sites further north on Route 1, and they decided to stay. It took me 4 months to negotiate a new lease with them under terms that I could afford to do and that was acceptable to them. But all that engineering, all that work is in the shredder. So I would have been very happy not to be here tonight and just build the hotel. We then had to go back, renegotiate with the hotel because now they're in 2 towns. They did not want to be in 2 towns. But we convinced them we'd done it once before, and there were agreements in place for it, so they stayed. It didn't matter to Chase. They're very happy where they are. So what we have in place right now is a signed purchase and sales agreement for the hotel with a deposit, a signed purchase and sales agreement for the Sharon portion, the 7,200 square foot building, an executed lease for the Chase Bank, and we're in the midst of doing a new lease with Applebee's. So that isn't executed yet because it only happened a short time ago, and you know how big companies are. So, but I have a written commitment from them to go forward with the terms and conditions, so it's just doing the paperwork.
Now, vis-a-vis the cannabis store, this store is, and I figure I'd use my ruler here, about 140 feet from the Walpole line.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know that the people in Walpole voted not to have cannabis stores. You're aware of that?
Yep.
And of course, there's a cannabis store in Fox Hill Road that's in Sharon.
Yep.
That's right on the border.
Yep.
This one is, like I say, 140 feet from our town. And this particular cannabis store, there is no way to get to it unless you go through Walpole.
Correct.
And I'm getting feedback from my constituents that this is not a good idea for Walpole to have a cannabis store that close to the town. And they were explained to me about the other cannabis store and the problems that exist there. Okay? I'm telling you what's happening here. But I never even thought about that, to tell you the truth. But what I did think about, I hasn't got a good answer. How does this, if we give you water and sewer, how does that benefit the town of Walpole?
Pat, that has been your question every time we've been before you, and I respect that. First of all, as far as the problems, I believe there's a letter from the police chief.
Well, that's beside the point.
No. It's important to address it because you said it in public.
It is, yes.
Okay, the Sharon police chief has written that there are no issues, that the biggest issue with the cannabis, there have been no issues with crime, no issues with drugs. The biggest issue they have, someone leaves the back door open and the alarm goes off. There are no crime issues, there are no issues there, and that's from the Sharon police chief who's in charge of that. So whatever your people are saying, they're saying based on feelings, not facts. The fact of the matter is that there have been no crime issues with that store, and we can get testimony from the Sharon police chief. As far as the water and sewer goes, we don't need your water, we can drop a well, we don't need your sewer.
Then why are you asking for it?
Because it's easier. We're going to have a water line within 25 feet of the town line, and we're going to pay you a lot more.
Oh, how much are you going to give us?
We're giving you $25,000 for the sewer for 450 gallons a day, one single-family house. We're paying you $10,000 for the water, $2,500 for the sprinklers. So we're paying you $37,000 for something we don't really need. So it's only money for you for virtually nothing. We're getting very little for it.
And you want us to go against the will of the town for $35,000, is that correct?
If the town likes or doesn't like, the cannabis store is coming, whether you want, the will of the town at this point is irrelevant to, it's coming anyway.
You're saying it's coming anyway?
Yep.
But I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be anything to do with it. If my constituents don't like it, I don't like it. So you can do what you need to do on your own property. But as far as giving you anything from Walpole, I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay, so...
You know, Sharon really is not the greatest neighbor when they're putting these cannabis stores right on the line, because they're getting money from, I guess, the state for having these cannabis stores. Oh, they're not getting anything?
From the state?
Yeah, I think the state, when you allow these stores into your town, you get a certain percentage of the cannabis tax. You never heard of this?
The state gets it, sir. Yeah, the town...
The town gets it.
The town gets it,
Also,
sure.
yes.
Sure, that's called a host community
Walpole's
agreement.
not going to get it, is it?
Walpole doesn't want it, apparently.
Yeah, but that's right, but you're putting it right next to us.
Pat, with all due respect, all right, all that's happening here is a business transaction. If you want to give us 450 gallons a day of water and give us a sprinkler system, by the way, the Sharon Fire Chief and Code Enforcement Officer has certified we don't need sprinklers. We can do without the sprinklers. However, it is a safety issue, and my client who's buying the property will pay to put sprinklers in the building, even though we don't need them. So, from a business, whether your constituents like or don't like it, whether they like vaping or smoking or alcohol, is irrelevant to this discussion. There's going to, excuse me, let me finish, please. There's going to be a cannabis dispensary on that property. And whether you give us the water or not, or the sewer or not, it's going to be there.
Well, thank you for your arrogance.
It's not arrogant, I'm giving you facts.
I won't vote for it, okay?
I didn't expect you...
That's the thing. You can say what you want about that.
Okay, so all you're doing on behalf of the...
You're going to build your cannabis dispensary 140 feet from the Walpole line, and you can say that, but I'm not going to be any part of that.
Okay, if I moved another 50 feet, would it make a difference?
No.
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
But if you moved it someplace else out of here, into Sharon Center or someplace, then I wouldn't even have a problem with it.
It's not zoned light industrial.
Yeah, well, they did that, well, they could have done that, though.
All right, well, again, this is circular. It's to the commission. This is a business transaction. We're offering you more money, significantly more money than you would normally get from anybody. You're already getting the room tax. You're already getting a bunch of other benefits. I've added the bank, which gives you more. You're going to get an additional liquor tax because the Applebee's is going to have a hotel, a 122-room hotel next to it. There's nothing bad here for the town of Walpole. And again, I'll express my frustration because it's been years. I keep coming back here, and it's not your fault, but I keep coming back here. I need to get this done, one way or another. So, I'm sorry.
You mentioned the room tax. How is that being worked? Because obviously part of the hotel is...
It's the original agreements. They haven't changed.
So...
Built part of an municipal agreement that we signed with the town of Sharon.
I recall there was some percentage or something.
Part of that agreement. So, town of Walpole gets 100% of the building inspection fees.
Right.
We're the lead person or town for all the inspections. On the rooms tax, the agreement specifically says we get all of the rooms on the Walpole side and 50-50 on the Sharon side, so we split it with Sharon.
Okay. I seem to remember that, but I wasn't sure. When I looked at the agreement, it talks about water charges determined as follows: 100% delivered to the Sharon units. What?
Again, town council and our council.
I just want to know.
Units are the 7,200 square foot building.
And
That's
not the hotel.
Not the hotel.
No, the hotel's part of the bigger agreement, which you already did when you did the location.
That's the 2019 agreements.
Okay.
We're just here, just the addendum, and I should have added when I opened before, is that it was, I think, the expectation of the commission that Optima would come back with language change to the agreements. It was my understanding of it, but what they decided with town council, my office, Mr. Luca, is that they would do addendums to each agreement.
Right.
It would make it more simple than to change anything else. So that's just the sharing units, and it's an exhibit, I think it's Exhibit A to each addendum, is the sharing units.
Is that, because I was looking at Article 2 payment, so is there,
Either, both addendums have the sharing units as Exhibit A, and then the
Yeah.
table.
no, so I guess maybe any water that's used by the bank, obviously Walpole. And any of at this building in the back, which is office and cannabis, that would be at the out-of-town rate.
Correct.
All right? We got a hotel, is that at the water rate? I mean, those rooms may or may not be occupied, I don't know, someone says, I want a window, something facing the whatever, or are they all considered sharing units and they would be charged at the out-of-town?
My memory, again, this is an existing, my memory says that when we did the La Quinta, that the units in Sharon were paying the out-of-town rate.
So,
if I could,
yeah,
the easiest way for us to do it would be to take 100% of the water consumption that runs through the meter at the hotel.
right.
Charge 55% of it at the Walpole rate, 45% at the out-of-town.
Okay, I just wanted to, because it talked about sharing units, and I'm thinking, is it...
Depending on 55, 45, however the split is.
Okay.
Whoever's in Walpole would be charged the in-town rate, the regular rate.
Right.
Anything outside of Walpole in Sharon would be charged the out-of-town.
Okay.
Is that the way you understood it, Tim?
Yeah, but
All right,
but the Sharon units he's talking about are just that one building.
No, he's talking.
Okay, that was...
He's asking the question about the hotel.
Yeah.
But in the addendum, it's referring just to
The addendum refers to the 7,200 square foot
Right, okay.
office/warehouse, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right, at the December meeting, when the hotel was completely in Walpole, and there was, the office and cannabis was in Sharon, we agreed that as long as, everything was done at once, that you weren't going to do, at that point, there was a warehouse, and then, we'll get to the hotel, and somehow the hotel never happens. Based on that, my thought is it's not a significant change from what we originally talked, whether it was 2018 or 19, as well as what we voted in 2023 in December, where we were going to address the cannabis being in a separate town, and this board was okay with that, so.
Thank you. For the record, I have to deliver each of the pads before I can close on them.
Right.
So we're doing the entire site at once. Chase Bank is going to will go vertical, the hotel will go vertical.
Right.
But I'm delivering the pads to them for which they're paying.
Right.
All right, so the goal is to do exactly what you said, get the whole thing up.
May I know the name of the hotel which is coming up? Like
The hotel?
Yeah.
Wood Spring Suites.
So the hotel company is okay to have a marijuana shop next to their...
Oh, yes.
Pets?
And Chase Bank had to go by, I had to get everybody on board, and there were no issues.
Do you have to go before the planning board, and can they end up changing this, or have you already gone? I don't
We have the new plans, the third set.
Right. Yes, I know.
Ready to be
got
filed.
copies of-
Ready to be filed in the next 2 weeks or so. As you said, they're significantly the same as the plans they've seen before. We expect to go before the Walpole Planning Board and the Sharon ZBA, because they're the special permit granting authorities, in the next 30 days to get going. We've already informally showed everybody everything, and we see no issues. Before, we spent money on engineering once more. We said, what do you think of this, and what do you think of that? So I believe, and I hope it'll be perfunctory, because we've answered all the questions, we've done all the design work.
Do you have to go before the ZBA, or?
ZBA and Sharon Planning Board in Walpole. There's a new traffic study coming. I've ordered a brand-new traffic study, even though there's not a big change.
And if I recall, in the original, long ago, that we'd already figured out, not that it involves water and sewer, but that who was going to respond first, whether it was the Walpole Fire or the police, and all that stuff is the same
That
as it
hasn't
was
changed.
before.
No, everything's the same. That's why Town Council and Phil decided to make this an addendum, because nothing else has changed.
Okay.
Don't go away.
Okay.
There's some little things in the addendum I did read that I didn't like. But, you know, I got to tell you something. Walpole spent millions and millions of dollars to have industrial water available. And it sits there in our town for our development. Along comes a land exploiter and builds this structure. And Sharon, who is going to get all the taxes, is going to get all the seat money, or the tax money for the rooms, they're not getting all the tax.
As I just said, they're getting half the tax money in Sharon's coming to Walpole.
No, I said they're going to get all this for nothing. You didn't let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're getting the real estate taxes that they wouldn't get. They're getting the $7 or so every day for every room they sell in Sharon. All this money they're getting, right? And they've put a zero into it. Now, Walpole is generating, we're subsidizing their town by giving them all this tax money that they're going to be able to collect, plus all the state, all the taxes they get on each room. Now, that comes down to a lot of money. And you expect us, for 25, whatever it is you said, to provide another building you have here with sewer and water. And this is very special water because it's enough to suppress a fire. Any other kind of water, you couldn't use that to suppress a fire. It's not enough. Now you're saying that this doesn't require that. Okay, that's fine. But the point is, it's philosophically, it's a problem for me. Okay. But secondly, it's also a problem that we're sort of subsidizing another town. But some of the things here in this addendum on page 2.
Is it the water connection addendum? Or
This is the water service connection, yes. On page 2, they talk about whereas the company desires to have ability to install a sprinkler system in the Sharon units, said system only to be used in case of an emergency. Now, why doesn't that say fire suppression? Oh, tell me the other emergencies that could happen.
We can fix that.
I don't-
That's a typo. What other emergency would need a sprinkler?
Okay, on page 3. Okay, going down, section 1.3, and it's the third line from the bottom. And such approval not to be unreasonably withheld. What does the word unreasonably mean?
Can I just have a minute to read
Where are we?
the section 1.3?
Of the water or the sewer?
Of the water.
While you're looking, Jim, do we have a sense of what this means to the town of Walpole as a whole in terms of real estate taxes, room fees, et cetera, et cetera?
I can tell you, I don't know real estate taxes, but I can tell you we budget about $500,000 a year in the current two hotels and the other motel we have out there, so that's about what we cost a year.
For all of the hotels?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so...
about the same size as show if you divide it. I'm guessing roughly 125 to 150 a year probably.
Okay.
You know. That's a ballpark number. I'm thinking half of the Sharon, you know, and then a Walpole's full half, so 125 is, that'll be a decent fire.
Is there another hotel that's going before the planning board?
There's one that's in talks right next to the Eastern Pearl, that same hotel that's in South Walpole. They have enough space there to...
Oh, okay, so it's already there, they're
identical.
just making it bigger?
They're going to build the same building right next to it. I don't know if it's gonna be
Okay. So it's not this one. I mean, I was
separate.
seeing it, and it was hacked, at least from their...
Yeah.
It's irrelevant
And
right now.
the
It's not-
agreement,
right,
the
not-
municipal agreement, I think someone asked, specifically says Walpole Fire will be the lead, and Walpole PD will be the lead. I don't know if that was a question. Okay.
And now I got just two more questions.
Can I answer your previous question, Pat, about the unreasonably withheld?
About the what?
Unreasonably withheld?
Yes, what does that
Sure.
mean?
That language relates to the owner selling the property to somebody else.
Yeah,
Somebody else inherits this deal.
okay.
Okay? The town can't unreasonably withhold
What does that mean?
that you can't...
What does
simply-
unreasonably mean? Does it mean that we have to show some type of a problem? Does it mean,
Yep.
and how big does that problem have to be? Okay.
I'll ask you...
It's
I mean,
ambiguous at least.
It is normal legal language in agreements
I
like
don't think
this.
so.
We can, I mean, we'd like your approval tonight. I understand you have a tremendous issues with this, but we can always change any of the language and come to some other agreement as to the wording here. That's not going to be a problem at all.
Okay. My next, and hopefully my last question here is, are there any other documents that exist vis-a-vis this particular agreement, the 2019 agreement? There is a 2019 agreement, which we have here. We have the two amendments. Is there any other documents whatsoever connected to this particular situation?
There's an intermunicipal agreement between the town of Sharon Select Board and the town of Walpole Select Board that was
I'd like to
signed.
see that, please, when you get it.
I'll hand it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
If I could-
Anything else?
If I could respond to the financial thing, you know, we did an extensive fiscal impact study last time. I'm not going to do it again because the things haven't changed, but in those days, there was a net to the town from this one project, from the hotel, of about $300,000 a year. That's after you figured in fire, police, and everything else. So, and that's in writing. You have the report in the previous filing.
Personally, I'm satisfied with this. It is similar to an agreement that we had before. I did address the fact of what happened last December, and so I don't know, Pradeep, you haven't been speaking much, but I'm okay with it at this point.
Okay, I'd like to get a copy of that, sometime.
You can have that.
Okay, thank you.
So, the Sharon tax is only the room tax, not the property tax? Are we getting the property tax or for the hotel?
The property tax is not fungible. It can't move.
Okay.
It's where the town is. The room tax is fungible. It can move. Sharon has pledged half of its room tax to Walpole.
So it's just like so many square feet are in Walpole, we would get the property tax for that. The square footage that's in Sharon, that goes to Sharon.
They get the property tax
Right,
only.
exactly.
Right.
Okay.
So, and just to clarify here, so as of now, you have an existing agreement which helps you to build the hotel and sell, Applebee's.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You
Pradeep.
already have an existing agreement with the Walpole to build a hotel to get the water supply for the hotel, isn't it?
Correct. The existing agreement had the hotel in 2 towns, and that's in place.
That's correct. And you are here today only for the 7,200.
450 gallons a day,
That's correct. I'm just
1,700 square
clarifying
feet.
it. I'm just clarifying it.
Yeah.
So if you are not getting, let's say, approval about the 7,200, your project is still going ahead with the hotel and the ATM and other things?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's one to clarify.
Go ahead.
So under the old agreement, and you have the 2018, 2019 water rates that were in effect. If he can, we've talked about this with his council and our council, he can go forward with it. But the sewer and water commissioner will lose out on about $30,000. Just want to clarify that.
On the old agreement?
Yes.
So we have to change the
So
old
if you
agreement?
do nothing, take no action, doesn't have the items he's requesting there, but the commissioners are also bound by the agreement because it's the 2019 rates. So just keep that in mind.
No, so today, even if you're, let's say, going to take the vote, that vote is only for the new addendum. We are not changing the old one, anything.
Yeah, so, but if he stays as is, he pays a lower rate. If you change it, I understand that there's a concern about connection and share and everything, but he will also be paying more for water and sewer.
That's just for the building, the extra building, isn't it?
Just the connection,
Just
just the connection fee.
That's
The
just
regular water rates go up.
Yeah, they go up, but they could, the connection.
So the loss on the town's end would be with the connection fees,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
because that agreement is a valid agreement.
So that's for clarification, like even if you don't vote or vote, the hotel and everything else can go ahead and work.
Right, they proceed with the construction of the hotel tomorrow.
Yeah, so
Then the agreement that they signed in 2019 would be.
still there. So we are just talking about the office space and all.
But Mr. Waluka has offered, if everything pans out,
Yep.
to allow us to increase those
Okay.
fees.
Sounds good. So shall we take final discussion and close this?
I'm fine to go ahead, yes.
Okay.
Somebody's going to make a motion.
Yeah, you have anything else to add or shall we make a motion?
No, that's beside the point.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Or we can postpone the vote until we have a full board.
Yeah, this is hard to get a 3-person, it's hard to,
At the very most, you're only going to have 4.
yeah, still that can give you a majority vote, isn't it? So,
So you
I'll,
you take a motion, I think we'll take a motion.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
That's fine, yeah.
I guess, so what we would need is a motion to accept the addendum for the water and sewer. Make a motion that we accept the 2 addendums.
You mean
Water one-
you move that?
Yes, I moved that, Pat.
Any other? Okay, so I second that.
All right.
So we'll vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No, so it's a 2-1 for today. So the vote actually fails because we just have 3 commissioners here today. I think we need agreement from at least the 4th commissioner who can give his input. But otherwise, I think you have at least the old agreement to go ahead with your hotel.
No, sorry, I want to just be crystal clear. It's my understanding, this board just voted 2-1 favorable action, as Bill mentioned on the agreement. I just want to make sure the staff here understands that was the agreement, but...
That's correct, but I think what we have been told previously is that the motion fails if there's less than 3 votes.
I can clarify with council, I believe it
Yeah,
passes,
so-
so I'll clarify if you need to put it back on the agenda. we'll ask.
Historically, we've taken the position that 3 votes, that way it doesn't matter who came or whatever, oh, I wasn't here, you had 3 votes out of the 5, so somebody not
Yeah, you
showing
can
up.
put it back in the agenda. We don't have any problem as long as we get the
Yeah.
3rd person to agree. So that's...
If I could just clarify one thing, because I was surprised at what I just heard from Jim and Rick about the rates, because when we sat and negotiated, Rick said to us, you know, the connection fee rates have gone up. And we said, okay, and we put them in. But by this vote, if we go forward, paying the 2019 connection fees, so that's an additional loss to the $35,000. Just to clarify, because this was news to me. So,
No,
thank you.
That's fine. So we just want to finish this agenda today and
So can you put us on for your next meeting?
that we have to follow up with that.
I will not be on our next meeting, so you could end up with a...
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
we'll go from, thank you.
So are we going to be, who gets to put on the next one? Okay.
So was it?
Yeah. No, I was just asking Jim, I mean, even though that's our past practice, is our past practice, does that hold any legality, or we have a quorum here and have a majority vote?
I'm clarifying with council now. So if I get an answer with them there too.
Okay.
Thank you. Close this and start the next one.
Still a lot on there. Yeah.
Council just confirmed.
Whether they confirm?
Yes, that's a positive vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We look forward to it. Groundbreaking.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's done.
We do the minutes?
Minutes were done. I think 126 South Street would be where we sort of left off.
Well, he's not here though, right?
I don't think he has to be here.
I'll summarize you the last agenda. This was discussed already, and there was a vote taken for that. It went through 2-1, but we don't know whether it's a majority or not, but as per town administrator, it's approved vote for 2-1. So that's the status on this one.
Good. All right, so what do we have in this?
126 South Street.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, the water was used. We do have, our bills do state whether something's an actual or an estimated. My only thought would be is to make the adjustments, they being done using the rates in effect during the various time periods when we've done this in the past, rather than saying, hey, based on today's rates, and the catch-up is this big bill, you just divide it, spread it out amongst back to, as we've done in the past, and so some of it will be, you know, rates 2 years ago, some of it will be, part of it will be 3 years ago. We've done this in the past just to be consistent. But other than that, no, there's no reason to abate otherwise, in my opinion.
anybody else?
Then I'll move that the adjustments that we would be made would be based on prior rates, but nothing else.
How about this, the $100 fees?
The $100 fees, I remember that, but...
Right, we
Oh, yeah.
charge him an additional $100 to do the final read because he called the same day, which is also in accordance with the call.
Yeah, no, that's...
Oh, is he already moved away from that phone?
Well, I mean, there's nothing, I don't see any reason why we would abate that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Okay, moved in second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained?
I'm sorry, I was busy doing something. What's the motion again?
We said that you would pay the shortage.
No. I'm sorry, say the motion again, please.
What we've done in the past, Pat, we would, rather than saying, based on today's rates and all the catch-up, we're not using the current rates, we will look back a portion that, 2 years ago, 3 years, whatever.
Yes.
But other than that, no, there's no, any additional.
Yes?
I'm voting yes.
400. Okay, moving right along, the Hilltop Planning Board.
They wanted the answer by the 9th.
Yeah, do we have any maps? Yeah. The Hilltop? Can I see them, please?
What's there now? There's a building there, right? 2218.
Thank you.
I think, when I looked, I was looking to see utility issues, and I didn't see anything.
I think you guys had previously discussed this some time ago.
I believe so. Is it two?
Is this the garage?
This is a brand new building.
Oh, it's a new building.
Right.
Is this the one that's up next to the town forest?
It's the car barn.
It's an old building. This is the one I think we discussed then, where they go to store the high-end cars.
This is next to that Dry Creek. That's right, yeah, we have discussed this.
Is this the landscaping guy?
No, it's the car barn.
Car barn.
What?
Car barn.
Yeah.
You know where the new Dry Creek office building is on Route 1?
Which one?
It's Dry Creek, waterproofing. They used to be at the corner of Spring and,
Way up on the reserve.
yeah.
But it's in our area
Yeah.
3, I think, right? Yeah, it's in area 3. And we have 11, right?
The utility comments were addressed.
Yeah.
So,
That were on page 2 of,
Yeah, I see them.
the letter was dated June 20th.
Yep. From comment 10, 11, and 12.
Now, when they say impervious floor, they mean no floor drains? Is that correct? And they have.
I would imagine they're gonna have floor drains.
What's a top spill? Can anybody know what that is?
What are you looking at?
What is it, Patrick?
155-gallon drum, a top spill containment drum decks. What is that?
Is that the,
I think that's the manufacturer's name.
is that the containment that the whole thing collapsed?
What's one, is it a motor, it's motor oil. So it's 55-gallon drum of motor oil.
But, so if you look at Carl's last comment.
And a 250-gallon tank
Carl makes reference to a special
of
permit.
diesel fuel. These are all undercover, I assume?
Within the building.
Okay, stored, okay. And 12 5-gallon gas containers.
Are you looking at the same plan?
I don't think you're looking at the same thing.
I think you're looking at Hash Brown Holdings.
What?
You're looking at Hash Brown Holdings.
I'm looking at, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Look at your correspondence number 2.
Okay, let me get to that.
Correspondence 1.
Yes.
The comments request 1.
This is 3.
GW Hilltop.
That Terry provided, the correspondence 2.
Okay, I got it.
Relative to this.
This one is let me get to the chemicals.
There are no chemicals listed.
It's the utility is on sheet C7, it says.
Follows additional comments.
What are they using this for?
Storage of cars. Very expensive cars.
All right, and now, this one is, it says, if more than household quantities of hazmats are stored, then the following should occur. So this is all in the future? You know what I'm saying? That's written. If a floor plan should be provided showing the area where safety cabinet for the storage of the proposed hazardous. So if they have hazardous materials,
Right.
then they don't have them, or they do have them? What is this, I mean,
What he's saying is if there is hazardous material to be stored,
are there going to
then
be?
following that, there should be a floor plan providing spill protection.
And we need to see the layout, we need to see the plans for that, right? How they're going to contain it if there's a spill or something?
That's what Carl's saying. If there is hazardous material, then it has to be contained and shown.
All right, so we don't really know what they're talking about here.
I think they told you last time what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Here's the, whose is this? Okay. So, I see a bunch of questions and answers.
So Patrick, we can get you a list of what they propose to store in there and what they would, how they would contain it. It's no different than you would do for something at Walpole Park Zone.
I'm going to lie.
Right. I think we've already made our comments, and the issue that, and this is dated on July, we're addressing, Carl's just addressing issues that don't relate to us, I mean, fire department and things like that. So I think our original comments are adequate. I don't...
Hey, you want to see this?
No, we saw it back then. I'm all set.
All right, so, what do you want to do with it, seen and noted, or
Yes, read and noted.
read and noted? Okay, now we have the,
South Street.
This is one that we already approved. I listened to the planning board, I believe it was planning, or ZB, I think it was planning board. In the back portion, they were going to have these basically stalls where material like crushed stone and whatever could be...
We have plans on this, right?
Could be stored out there. Not the greatest thing, having it open to the air, but what they're proposing now is instead of having those open bays, they would now have a building, and whereas before the runoff would have just gone, onto the surface, now it'll be in the roof and will be put into the groundwater.
These are the landscapers?
Yeah.
So we're concerned about fertilizer?
Well, it wasn't so much fertilizing in the back. At the back of the property.
Is the town forest.
Right, but, I think we had concerns about that, but it was approved that, say you had one of the people, because he has multiple garages, somebody who was, renting space wanted to carry a small amount of crushed stone or something, there was spots at the back of the property.
This land actually goes into the river?
Yes, yeah. That's why I'm just saying it wasn't, what they're doing now is...
It wasn't septic contamination that may occur and carried it away.
Right. Now, they're going to put a building there instead of in which case, any rain that falls on top of the roof will go through, be discharged into the ground as opposed to...
All right, there's a tar platform here. You see it?
Yeah.
That's where they're going to put the covering on?
They're basically putting a building. From what I heard at the meeting...
This is a building.
This stuff is already built. This whole thing is there. What he's doing is saying, this has been so successful, he wants to put these small buildings to cover this so he can rent more as opposed to just having places where, these storage bins.
And he's storing materials in here.
I don't even know if he is at this, but he's saying, I want to remove this and replace it with buildings just like that, the same footprint, in which case now, instead of rain falling here and then running off, it now will be just like any rain that falls here is put, back into the ground as opposed to whatever is stored here.
This isn't a building.
This is just...
Not now, yeah. All right, yeah.
Where's the concept? Is this the river?
This is the river right here.
Yeah.
Right here. So here, it shows it better here. The river's coming down here and going right by it.